Everybody's going to get that so that they can see this is going to be a very open process. I'm done with my opening statements. Do I have any pertinent questions from candidates or from the audience before we begin? We're going to start with the school district candidates. All right, Pamela Heiler, you are the incumbent. You can pick up that microphone right there and give your 90-second opening statement.
All right. Good evening.
I didn't turn it on for you. Testing. You have to hold it right up to your face. Okay.
Good evening, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all stakeholders. I am Pamela Lewis Heiler, School Board Trustee for Area 5. Thank you for selecting me and allowing me to be your voice for the past 4 years. It has been an amazing and busy journey. Good things have happened in this district despite bad times. Teachers have had more to do with less. Administrators have a minimum of 2 jobs. And with all the obstacles that are beyond our control, i.e. money, or shall I say lack thereof, we have persevered and we have made great things happen for your children, the children of Nye County. Just to name a few, hiring a new superintendent who is doing a phenomenal job. You sent letters, we read them, and we heard your voice. We opened a new school, elementary school. We opened a state-of-the-art high school. Social media to get you the information on your terms. And we've had a new math book adoption. There's still more to do. Your vote in November will allow me to finish the job that I've started. Thank you.
Grab the microphone, Andy. You're up. 90 seconds.
Well, I'm Andy Alberti.
Use the microphone, Andy.
Oh. Maybe I really didn't need it. Is it on? Okay. I'm Andy Alberti. I've been here since 2002, and I've always been a believer in a good education. I happen to be very fortunate to have attended schools that afforded me that opportunity. My parents had the money to send me to private school in high school, and it was a place where you had to take an entrance exam in order to go there. It was not that easy. I have a short list of the things I would like to accomplish. I can't talk about what I've accomplished here for the school district because I'm not there. But I do believe in this. I believe in excellence in education. And I believe that we can do that here in Nye County, even when I hear that it has not happened yet. I was very surprised to go to a graduation ceremony several years ago where a number of students got $100,000 scholarships to go to college. That was far different than I had ever expected to see. But I've also been a substitute teacher here, and I've seen what happens in some of the classrooms. I have different ideas about the way to run the school district, but my one objective, my one and only objective, would be an excellent education for the students that are here.
All right. Pamela, we're going to start with a question for you first. You'll have 90 seconds to respond. The Nye County School District was forced to close Mount Charleston Elementary School due to budget shortfalls. Shortly thereafter, Pahrump High School went through a multi-million-dollar expansion. Please explain the budgeting ebb and flow the school board has faced during your time on the school board and its effects.
Okay, I'm not sure I totally understand how you.
It should be on. Just use it. There you go.
I'm not sure I totally understand like the correlation that you're asking me between those two.
Okay, well, I will dispense with the intro of it and ask this. Please explain the budgeting ebb and flow that the school board has faced during your time on the school board and its effects.
Okay. In terms of making that decision to close Mount Charleston was a very old school and needed a lot of repair. The monies to build the new school was a bond that had been set aside, and that money could only be used for that purpose. And therefore, we were restricted, and I mean, we couldn't take that money and make those repairs. And it was a very, very difficult decision because that school was part of the community. And we had amazing teachers, there was amazing things that were going on. The community was very much a part of what was going on. We had volunteers there. So it wasn't an easy decision. However, when we get bond money that's earmarked for a particular purpose, that's the only thing that it can be used for. So it was a decision that was made that actually our hands were tied on. We had to use it for that purpose.
Okay, thank you. Andy, would you choose to respond to that, or would you like to debate?
I would respond in this way.
90 seconds.
The first time I went in to look at the agenda for the school district, January 2013, the first agenda, there was an item on the agenda that said that there was to be a discussion as to whether to give the principal, the district principal, $50,000 to lobby on behalf of the school district. To my way of thinking, that $50,000 should be unnecessary. What we should be doing is asking our legislators who represent us up in Carson City and our district principal to do that lobbying on behalf of us with the sum monies that we pay them. The decision that was made by all 5 board members was to allot the $50,000. I would have taken a different approach. I would have encouraged our legislators to meet with us, and I think it's their job to help us lobby for what we need. There are too many lobbyists working up there. We need to have our people who know us, know our schools, work on our behalf.
Thank you. Pamela, if you'd like, you have an opportunity to take a 30-second follow-up.
Actually, I totally agree with you. However, that's not the way it works. Monies are earmarked legally for certain purposes. Once again, bond money that is given to us for a particular purpose can only be used for that. When it is in our budget and we have a phenomenal financial manager, that's all it can be used for. The money that was used for lobbying came out of another budget. It could not have been used for that purpose.
Thank you. Andy, next question goes to you. The Nye County School District covers all of the schools throughout the entire county, which is the 3rd largest county by square mileage in the entire U.S. Would you support breaking up the district into smaller districts so that each community would have a greater say in their own district? Or are you content with the district organization the way it is, and why?
That's really, I think, a bit of a loaded question, but I can answer it this way. The amount of students in the district is not unmanageable. It's the size of the district that matters. And if it were to me, I would have someone who managed the northern part where we have fewer students and the southern part where we have the majority of students. There are different requirements for large and small groups. And to think you can manage all large and small groups from one entity, I think is an error. And so my approach to this thing would be to have someone who would be, say, in Tonopah, who would have the responsibility for the really rurals, and another one down here in Perot that would manage the schools we have here. We have good schools. We have excellent educators, and I'm not going to say we have everyone is an excellent educator because I know that not to be the case. But I do think there is a difference between North and South. When you have 5 students in a classroom for the whole town, you have 1 teacher. If you have 100 students, maybe you can have 2 or 3 teachers. It needs to be managed based on student population.
Pamela, you have 90 seconds to either respond or a minute and a half, 2 minutes to debate. What would you choose?
I will.
Okay, 90 seconds, please.
We have a trustee who is in that area. She's been elected by the community to represent those constituents. And she does an excellent job. She's part of that community. She knows what's needed there. And she participates in all of our board meetings. She chairs the meetings there, and our constituents are at those meetings, and so their voices are heard. And we are addressing their needs. The schools, the students are getting what they need. It is a difficult, very difficult task because they do have different needs and different concerns. And if it was an ideal world and everything was perfect, you know, maybe things would be different, but it's not. But we're making it work, and everyone's needs are being met with the help and support of our trustee in that area.
Andy, you have an opportunity to follow up for 30 seconds.
I have in front of me a recent report released by the state of Nevada. Amargosa, you have a rating of 1 to 5 stars for schools. Amargosa is a 1-star school. Gabbs is a 1-star school. When you're out in the rural areas, it's really tough to beat the greatest school. And if we're doing an excellent job, how come they're 1-star schools?
Pamela, the next question is for you. There are many advocates for full-day kindergarten and others who advocate for a half-day kindergarten. Does the Nye County School District have half or full-day kindergarten? And considering the issues of cost versus educational opportunities, where do you stand on the issue and why?
My position is that full-day kinder is absolutely essential. With the new standards and the new requirements for kinder students, they need to have those opportunities, and they need the full day. Nye County position is full-day kinder, and that's what we're offering now. Kinder students are required to know so much more than they did at one time. Kinder students, by the end of their kindergarten years, are expected to be pretty much independent readers, and they can't accomplish those goals in just a 2.5-hour day, which is what a half-day kinder is. Their math skills are expected to single-digit addition and be familiar with subtraction. They can't accomplish that in 2.5 hours. So full-day kinder is what kids need. They need to have those opportunities. They need that exposure.
I have to say, I still do my math with a crayon. Andy, would you like to respond or debate?
Would you just repeat the question?
Sure. There are many advocates for full-day kindergarten and others for half-day kindergarten. Does the Nye County School District have half or full-day kindergarten? And considering the issues of cost versus educational opportunities, where do you stand on the issue and why?
Well, I guess that brings together a little story. I went to kindergarten. My mother took me there in Queens. I'll never forget the first day. I was scared to death. I was in that classroom, and halfway through, I was in tears. They took me to the principal's office, called my mother, and sent me home. Kindergarten is a social time for a lot of students, and it's different than living at home. I prefer a half-day kindergarten, and I do believe we can expect a lot more from students in kindergarten than we would normally expect the way things are done now. As a matter of fact, many students may come to kindergarten and already know how to write. They may not write great, but they can write. My family was a perfect example of that. So when it comes to kindergarten, you have to let those students excel. And I can tell you my own personal experience with my daughter. When she went to kindergarten and she could print small, they made her print big. That was an accomplishment I don't think she ever got over it. So when we talk kindergarten, I think that's more of a social event, getting them used to going to school. And if they do learn to write and do some other things, good. But I am not in favor of all day kindergarten.
Pamela? Pamela, you have 30 seconds if you'd like to follow up.
Once upon a time, that was so true. However, once upon a time, you even took a nap in kindergarten. However, research supports full-day kinder in order for students to be able to achieve what's required of them. Also, in terms of socializing, they get that opportunity. They have recess time, they have lunch time. Kids are going to socialize. And with the teaching strategies that are used now, teachers are not teachers, they're facilitators. And they're encouraging students to think, pair, share, meaning to talk and to communicate and to relate and share ideas with each other. So kids are working together and collaborating. They're learning to collaborate and they're learning to use each other to get ideas and to share ideas. So there's plenty of opportunities for children to socialize. However, a 2.5-hour day is just not enough anymore. It was.
Pamela, I'm sorry, thank you. I think that the timing went a little long. That was supposed to be 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Moving right along. Andy, next question goes to you. Nevada's governor is a major supporter of Common Core and its implementation here in Nevada. As a school board trustee, would you support Common Core in the 9 county schools or would you oppose it? And please explain your answer.
Well, I think the answer is pretty simple. There are some good things that I think can exist in Common Core. They have an objective to provide excellent education.
Please hold your microphone closer.
Excuse me? Oh, is that better?
Thank you.
Their objective is to create an environment for excellent education. Problem I have with Common Core is that there are things in there that I think they have no business promoting in the schools. So I have a little slogan. When it comes to Common Core, accept the best and reject the rest. I can't tell you at this point what to reject. I can tell you this. I've looked at state law at the NRSs, and NRSs say that there is a goal to be achieved for every student in the class to move from first grade to second grade to third grade and so on. We're still promoting those students. They should not be moving up in those grades. And if we were really doing an excellent job, not only here but throughout the country, they wouldn't be coming up with a thing like Common Core. If they want to have an experiment in the United States, do it in Washington, D.C., and let's see how well they do there.
Pamela, would you like to respond or debate?
Debate.
Debate, okay. We'll have 2 minutes, and please make sure each of you gets about 10 seconds each with the mic, 10, 15 seconds each, and just be kind with the passing of the baton, if you would.
Common Core has been actually in effect now for about 4 years. And here in Nevada, it's not even called Common Core anymore. It's the Nevada Academic Content Standards for English, Language, and Math. And Nevada has modified theirs somewhat with the federal government so that it's actually more of a growth model. So that our kids are not being measured against predetermined standards, they're being measured against their own growth, which is actually the way it should be. And we should be accountable for growth for our students. That's what you expect when you send your kids to school. You expect them to learn. You expect them to move forward. And so that's what...
You have to allow the debate. There you go.
Come on, moderator.
Common Core actually recommends certain things in the curriculum that you may not want to have your students, your kids, being taught. You see it every day in the news, right now. So if that's the case, maybe you want Common Core. For me, I would much rather be teaching the students about patriotism, about what the great things are about this country, about the true history of what happened here in the Americas.
Common Core only addresses English and math. It didn't address any other topic. And really the basics for Common Core, the reason that our governors got together and created Common Core was so that when states are comparing themselves to each other, that you were really looking at apples and apples.
Final word, Andy.
I was a substitute teacher in Nye County for 3 years. I've seen what was in the books. You should go to the school if you want to see how they're being taught and ask to sit in on a classroom. It's your right as a taxpayer.
Okay. This will be the final set of questions. Pamela, we'll start with you. What is the biggest issue you have faced as a member of the school board that you're most proud of having improved, and why?
The most difficult, situation would have been teacher layoffs. Due to budget constraints, we were forced to lay teachers off. And that was very, very difficult. It made class sizes larger. It was painful to have to do that to teachers. I'm a teacher and have been for over 10 years. I'm going on 20 years now. So it was a painful decision. However, what I am proud of is that in the new contracts, we were able to bring them back, and the concessions that were made, we were able to restore them. So that's something I'm very proud of, and we worked hard to be able to get to that point.
Andy, would you like to respond to that or debate?
I'd just like to respond to the question.
90 seconds.
As a real estate broker and as somebody who likes to read, I love to read contracts every day. I love to read what the law says. I can tell you this. I think when some of these contracts are written, we've been giving away the store. I come from a school district in New York. I was a school board member there for 2 terms. In our school district, we encouraged the union to join with us to improve the quality of our teachers. I don't have the time here to tell you how we do that, but I can tell you this. The union joined in, and we made sure we had top flight teachers in that district, and it didn't take that long to do. We changed the administration, we changed the high school principal, we moved people around, and I'll tell you what else we did. If you go on the internet and you look up William Floyd School District, you'll see today how proud that school district is of their accomplishments since I was there. And I'm not saying I'm responsible now, but it continued. They have received many awards. I take credit for that. I was instrumental in making sure that we had only top flight teachers in that district.
Thank you. 30 seconds, Pamela, to respond.
The teachers in this district work very hard, and many of you know those teachers. You know what's going on in the classrooms. When you just take a look at numbers, a rating of a 1, you also have to look at why it's a 1. Oftentimes it can be something as simple as a document didn't get turned into the state on time.
Thank you. All right, Andy, final question to you. You are the candidate who's challenging the incumbent. What do you see as the biggest issue facing the school board, and what do you propose to mitigate that issue?
I can recall a school that was on 60 Minutes one day, and the person who was running the school declared it to be a school of excellence. My entire campaign, everything I talk about ever, is being the best damn school district in the state. And I think we can do that. I don't want to hear from a principal, we can't do it. I don't want to hear, we don't have the money to accomplish that. That's not true. I was asked, what is the purpose of education? And I'm going to give you my definition. It's to prepare children to become successful as part of our society through academics and socialization. Now, you tell me when you see articles in the newspaper about the academic excellence that we have in our schools. Every darn school in Nye County rates a 3-star rating. Not one is above that. I can go to Washoe County, I can go to Clark County, I can go to some other counties and I can find some 5-star schools. I would like to go to one of those schools with the administration and take a look. and see what they're doing that we're not, to see if it fits our programs.
Thank you. Pamela, would you like to respond or debate?
Debate.
Debate, 2 minutes on the clock.
Thank you. With the new standards, we just got a new textbook adoption. And whenever you get a new textbook adoption, your scores are going to drop because it's a new textbook, it's new training. However, and part of what was the old Common Core is once you reached that level of proficiency, the bar got raised again.
When Common Core can teach your students how to read and how to do math, they'll do better in school. I've been there, I've seen the students who can't hardly read and they're graduating high school, for Pete's sakes. We can't allow that to continue. We need to fix it. I would never allow a student to graduate high school who couldn't read and go to college and get remedial reading. That's foolishness.
Well, Common Core isn't teaching our students anything. Teachers are teaching our students, and our students, most of them are graduating with dual certificates, not certificates, many of them are graduating with associate degrees because they are participating in the state's program.
This may be a surprise. We have students who graduate, go across the platform at graduation time and get a piece of paper, but they didn't really do any academics. They got a certificate of attendance. That's not graduating. That's you sat in there like a lump, or you didn't finish the recommended courses. My son is an admissions rep, and that's where I got the story from him, and it exists right here.
Carry on.
That no longer exists, Mr. Alberti. There is no longer a certificate of attendance.
Well, I still see it in state laws, so it's not gone away.
Okay, that ends the debate portion. However, you each have 60 seconds to give your final thoughts. And Pamela, I'll allow you to go first. And clerks, candidates, you'll be up next. Pamela, 60 seconds.
I'm going to make it brief. Once again, a lot of good things are going on in the schools. Often you only hear about the so-called negative things, that the scores are low. The scores are low. However, they are on the rise. We've got new textbook adoptions. We've got a new reading program coming in. And I just ask for your vote so that we can continue all the good things. We've got a good, stable board, and good things are coming.
Thank you. 60 seconds.
In closing, I'd like to give you my definition of excellence, because that is what I'd like to see in Nye County schools. My definition of excellence is not that you have to go to college to be excellent, to have a good life, to make a good income. What you need to do is to be able to leave school and be prepared to function properly in our society that we have created and accepted from previous generations. If you learn to be a good plumber, if you learn to be a machinist, if you learn to write code for computers, that's fine. You don't need to go to college to do that, but you need to be skilled in those things so that you will lead a good life and have good income and be proud of the work that you do.
Thank you very much. Candidates, thank you. If you would please grab your critique sheets from Lisa Marie as you leave. Fill this out, return them to my table when you're done. There's a cell phone here, and let's get the clerk candidates up on the stage, please. Sam Merlino and Sheila Wynn, you are both candidates for clerk. Sam, why don't you start off? 90 seconds, please.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. I am Sam Merlino, and I am your Nye County clerk. I'm a native Nevadan, and I've been in Nye County for 34 years. Just to give you a little background, I worked at the Tonopah Test Range for security and held a DOEQ clearance for 13 years, and I was an office manager. In January of 1994, I became a deputy clerk in the Nye County Clerk's office. I worked there for 6 years before accepting a job as a legal secretary for the district attorney's office. I was only there for a very short period of time before the commissioners appointed me to replace my predecessor as the Nye County clerk. The clerk's office just does so much more than elections. We're so busy, but most of you know me for elections, I'm sure. But my staff and I have spent the last few months reorganizing the office and standardizing a lot of our forms and procedures. I have created a clerk's website that offers information to the public, as well as self-help forms. And by mid-November, we should be taking credit cards. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm still very excited about that. I have great staff in both Tonopah and Pahrump, and I take pride in the fact that they're helpful, knowledgeable, and courteous to everyone who walks in the office. If elected, I will continue to have an open door policy. I will continue to follow all the rules, regulations, and laws relating to the office and elections. I plan to, okay, I've lost, I'm done. I knew I was going to lose.
Sheila, you get 90 seconds, and I would just ask, if you please, both of you, just project it to the microphone, keep it close, because in the back they're having a hard time hearing. We're trying to find the volume knob, but until then, belt it out there. Sheila, 90 seconds.
Well, I'm Sheila Wynn, and I'm running for the Nye County Clerk. I've been a 25-year resident of Nye County. I've been a 19-year resident of the Pahrump Valley. I obtained a 2-year paralegal degree in 1997 and became a paralegal for a law office in Las Vegas, and I was there for about 8 years as their paralegal and their office manager. Thereafter, I came out here and I was fortunate to obtain a position as a deputy clerk in the clerk's office. That again was in June of 2003. By July of 2007, I had already been promoted to the chief deputy clerk position. Over the time that I worked side by side with Sam, we considered a lot of the things that were important to the community and to the judges and the attorneys, and we considered those things together. I did participate in the standardizing of many of the forms, and I also participated in these self-help forms. I went over those forms many times with the assistance of the law clerk and the judge. If elected, I would like to be able to bring the clerk's office into the 21st century with a little bit more technology. In spite of a short budget, I know we can do it at a minimum cost. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sheila, looks like the volume's up a little bit. Sheila, you're going to answer first. So, first question for you. You have 90 seconds to respond. Your Facebook page states that you have the goal of bringing trust into elections. Explain the problem as you would see it and how you'd address it.
Well, that's probably poor wording on my part, but when I started in 2003, I can tell you honestly, it was a daily endeavor to deal with everybody coming in that almost came in reproachful about the election system. They came in upset or angry about the way the elections were being handled, or by the way the votes were being counted, or where they were being counted. I spent a significant amount of time on this end in the Pahrump office kind of deterring that type of attitude. And so when I say trust, I more mean that I want you to be able to come into the office and know that we are going to welcome you to view whatever needs to be viewed within law and allow you to participate as much as possible to make you feel secure in the process. Not necessarily the word trust, so I apologize for using that potential word.
Thank you. Sam, would you like to respond or debate?
Respond.
Respond. 90 seconds, please.
First of all, everything regarding elections is by law. And yes, we do allow observers, and I've invited people many times. But unfortunately, with an electronic system, many people don't trust it. And I wish I could tell you how accurate that system is. As far as absentee ballots and the way we count them, there are regulations, not only at the Nevada Administrative Code, but the NRS that regulates how we handle those. If anybody thinks I am personally counting them, that's not the case. But we always welcome observers. I've asked many times, and I wish I could convince you the system is wonderful, but I know being electronic, many people don't trust it. But unfortunately, the Secretary of State mandates what system we use, and that is the system I am required to use right now.
Sheila, you have 30 seconds to follow up if you like.
Well, that is entirely true. It all mandated by the Secretary of State. I'd like to simply just allow a small board of some type, maybe 1 or 2 Republicans, 1 or 2 Democrats, and an independent and a libertarian, just be allowed to sit in through the entire process, see how much is behind those doors when we're putting together an election. See what's going on and how stressful it can really be from our perspective. And remember, we are human dealing with a machine. So if a mistake happens, it's because of that.
Thank you. Sam, question goes to you. Currently, very few public records from the county clerk's office are available online. What steps, if any, are you willing to take to make those more records available online?
Oh, believe me, this is an ongoing project. I don't know if anybody realizes that I have an $84,000 budget, which is not much, and that covers elections. And I have an election every fiscal year. I have, at one point, I did get some PEP funds to do some imaging of our records, but it was a very small chunk that we were able to image, and we're still working on getting those available online or anything else. Unfortunately, until we come up with more money, there are so many things that are so important to the people here and the rest of the county, roads, public safety, and I don't know that the records being online are as important as some of those issues. We are very fast with getting documents to individuals who ask for them. Our scanner has become our best friend. We scan and email so many documents now, which has made it great, but we do provide the service as fast as we can.
Sheila, would you like to respond or debate?
Respond, please.
Okay, 90 seconds.
Prior to leaving the clerk's office, we were developing a program called Justware, and it was handled by New Dawn. That particular program allowed you to scan and have electronic files all in place. When I left the clerk's office, it wasn't up and running yet. I had worked on that primarily. Even with the hardship and the budget needed to get the back documents from the past scanned into the system, to head it off now, get that program in working order, which has been paid for by the commissioners and put in place in justice court, get that running so we're not constantly running behind the 8 ball, get those ones up to speed, and as we go, get those others caught up. If we keep running from the backside, the front's never going to get done. We have to start somewhere. Let's get the start done with the Justware program, and then we can go back and get those old ones into the system.
Okay, Sam, you have 30 seconds to follow up.
Okay.
Immediately after Sheila left my office, we had a test conversion of the data to the new system. Our data was hardly recognizable. As of this time, the justice courts are having to do all of their statistical reporting by hand because that system is not working correctly. I refuse to compromise the integrity of our records until that system is up and running correctly.
Thank you. Sheila, this question is for you. On March 14th, you were quoted in the local paper admitting to have resigned as chief deputy clerk based upon a snap decision, and that also you had adored working for San Bernardino. The question is, why did you resign, and why are you now seeking to replace Sam as county clerk?
I'm not quite sure how this is pertinent to my qualifications as a clerk, but there was never a question that I wanted to run for this office, and Ms. Molino was aware of that. When I left in February, that was my personal choice, and I don't care to share that part with you. If you would like to speak about the qualifications of how I can do the job, I absolutely can do the job. I did it for 10 years. I am just saying I don't believe that my decision is pertinent.
Then take the opportunity to give your qualifications. You still have time.
Like I began, I was in the clerk's office for 10 years. I was the chief deputy for 7 years. I worked very, very closely with San Bernardino. I was constantly trying to learn more. I was constantly trying to be a better chief deputy, and I never felt like I got there. So I can't say that I regret 1 minute of working with Sam. I honestly can't tell you that. But I truly believe I can do that job as well as anyone, and I believe I can do it as well as Ms. Merlino.
Sam, would you like to respond or debate?
You know, I really don't think I do at this time.
Okay, so move on to the next question. Okay, Sam, in your time as county clerk, what mechanisms within the office have you improved, and how have they impacted the public?
Well, first of all, there are a lot of things when I got into office that we did by hand, and they're now computerized. But as I said, it's a very slow process. The clerk's office does not have a large technology fund. It's very, very tiny, $5 on top of every notary we file within the office. So I might get $100 a year if I'm lucky. So our technology increases very slowly, but those are just some of the things. One of the biggest things is in 2004 getting the electronic voting machines. I don't know, nobody realizes the work that goes into that, those electronic elections. As Bill said, I have to spend the rest of the week programming and testing all of those machines. And it's not just me, it takes a crew of us. But I think that's the biggest thing. I've kept up on all the procedures for that. I have had to create my own forms and procedures to cover a lot of it, as well as minimum accounting standards. We get so many regulations that are put on the clerk's office that nobody realizes. We have what's called minimum accounting standards set up by the AOC. I had to create a 50-page booklet on how we handle finances, how we handle checks, how we handle everything we do. I'm gonna quit.
Thanks. Sheila, would you like to respond or debate?
Respond.
Okay, 90 seconds.
I agree there is a short technology fund. I agree that there's a lot that needs to be done as far as, and has been done. But the point that I would like to make at this point is that, in fact, Sam accomplished many of these things. But I was right there helping her accomplish them. So I believe I get some of the credit for that.
Okay. Sam, you have 30 seconds to follow up.
Well, unfortunately, Sheila was not involved in most of the election work, other than being here for early voting and directing our chairman at the early voting polling place or at the regular polling place. But as far as the election technology, setting up, creating the ballot styles, precincts, and everything else, she did not have a lot to do with that, unfortunately.
Okay, Sam, this next question starts with you. Earlier this year, there was a news story regarding some funds that were stolen out of the county clerk's office. What checks and balances have been instituted to prevent reoccurrences?
Well, basically, immediately after that happened, we created procedures that not only, I have 2 staff members, every morning check, every penny of our petty cash, every amount of cash that has come in. They check it again the night when they close down. They check it again first thing in the morning. They check it again at night. So chances of anything happen are very, very small at this point.
Okay, Sheila, would you like to respond or debate?
Respond.
Okay, 90 seconds.
There were check and balances in place when I worked there as well. I did, in fact, take care of much of the money. I never took anything contrary to what people believe, and there was no missing money from the coffers. There was no missing money when this came to surface. And that's all I can tell you when it comes down to it. If you'd like to speak with me personally about it, I would absolutely love to, but I am not aware of any funds that were missing.
Thank you. Sam, you have 30 seconds to follow up.
Yes, the reason there were no funds missing, Sheila, is because you replaced it. And you didn't notify me that it was stolen.
Okay, Sheila, final question goes to you. You're the candidate challenging the incumbent. What is the biggest issue facing the clerk's office, and how would you address it?
I think the biggest issue is, just as Sam said, is the technology that's needed to bring it into the 21st century. I would hope that I could get an opportunity to work with the JustCore program a little bit more. I would hope that I can bring a little more efficiency to the attorneys and the judges and whatnot that are always there filing. I would like to be able to have a Dropbox that would allow people to come and drop their filings off after evening hours if necessary. But I think, yes, the biggest thing is the technology issue.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Sam, would you like to respond or debate?
No, I agree. Technology is huge, and the retention of records is huge. I have 3 vaults full of records from 1864 to the present. We've been able to image a very small portion, but until I get the funds to image and get them online, I'm stuck. I really can't do a lot. But I have to tell you something kind of funny. Today we found a marriage license of Gene Kelly. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
You have 30 seconds to follow up with the election.
Well, first I'd like to thank you all for coming out and hearing what I have to say. I'd like to thank the moderator and whoever put the questions together so that I was allowed to address this publicly with each of you rather than having it misquoted or put in the newspaper incorrectly. I do apologize for not letting the county go without that money and for putting it back into the coffers, because I guess I made a mistake there. So I apologize for that, but I thank you all very much for coming out, and as always, vote for me. Thanks.
Okay. We actually now have closing comments coming up, so probably here to end. But 60 seconds, Sam, for closing comments. And just so you know, we're going to have Butch Boraski, you're going to have an opportunity to speak as soon as the ladies are done.
Okay, I'll make this quick. And same thing, I would really like to thank Bill, Karen, and the Nugget for holding this. And thank you for getting us on quickly, because I do have to get back, and I really appreciate that. If elected, again, I will continue to serve the citizens of Nye County with respect and dedication they deserve, and I will continue to keep an open door policy. I will continue to follow all laws and regulations applicable to the office and conduct an election process that is effective, transparent, and done by the rules. I will continue to be fiscally responsible, and I'll strive to improve technology and service in order to serve the citizens to the full extent possible, given the limited staffing and the limited funding. My name is Sam Merlino. Please vote for me in November.
Thank you, Sam. Sheila, you have the final word. 60 seconds.
I also would like to tell you that I believe I can create a good working clerk's office. I had a wonderful rapport working with the attorneys and the judges in this town, in this community. In fact, most times you would have seen my face in that office if you came in, because I was the one representing the Grump office. So I would just like to thank you and remind you that I will not stop being a human being. I will not stop making mistakes, and I will not stop caring about the others in my community and my office. So please just consider where the intent comes from and consider voting for me on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. If you'll please grab your cheat sheets to Lisa Marie and then return them to me when they're filled out. Butch, come on up. Go ahead and take that microphone right up there. And here's the deal, guys. Butch Boraski is running for County Commission District 4. He's seeking his 3rd term. He is running unopposed in the general election. No, I don't. So it's just going to be an opportunity, Butch, if you want to take County Commission.
Well, thank you. I don't know how I acquired this special thing, but as long as I'm here. My name is Butch Boraski. I've been a commissioner for 8 years now. My campaign is just based on simple things. Lower taxes, less government regulation, and more about accountability to you, the people. And then if you need to, if you wish to contact me, you can reach me at 209-3100, butchboraski@yahoo.com, or 751-7078. I appreciate your phone calls, your emails, Tell me what's on your mind, what you're concerned about. I'm here to serve you. And thank you again for the opportunity to come up and speak. Have a nice night.
She says, please accept my apology for not being able to attend this event. Unfortunately, my husband is quite ill and requires my attention. We can all understand that. As most of you know, the Nye County Public Administrator's Office has, for the past several years, been in the media in a negative manner. More so than not, the greater majority of these accusations are fueled by emotions, misinterpretations of the laws, and as sad as it may seem, greed. Very few, if any, complaints have been based on the facts, and the position of the Nye County Public Administrator is unlike any other elected position, inasmuch as it involves one of life's most sensitive moments, the loss of a loved one. According to the emotional aspects, along with the emotional aspects, there is also a spider web of legal issues involved in administration of estates, some of which are simple, most are not. I have been a Nye County Deputy Public Administrator for the past 8 years and have handled a wide variety of estates. During the past 4 years, we as deputies have, for the most part, been required to perform our duties without the direct leadership of our current elected public administrator. If you have the faith and trust in electing me as your public administrator, I will commit all my experience and knowledge as a compassionate, hands-on public administrator. Currently, the Public Administrator's Office is completely unfunded by the county and state. If elected, I plan to work closely with all county and state agencies to rewrite several confusing Nevada regulatory statutes, develop local policies and procedures that will allow consistency, and a comprehensive training program. I respectfully ask your consideration in voting for me to be your next public administrator. Thank you for your time. Robin Durant Rudolph, candidate for Nye County Public Administrator. You have 90 seconds to deliver an opening statement, and then we have 2 questions for you.
My name is Robert Pilkington. I've been in Pahrump 9 years, and my wife and I own My Paralegal. It's on Frontage Road. We've been there for 9 years in the same location. Right now, we're Nye County's first and only certified document preparer, which I had to go through my wife also had to go through quite a bunch of hoops and rings and running around and to get our bonds, to get our license, to get everything done. If I could get elected to the Nye County Public Administrator's Office, there's going to be some changes. There's going to be no more drama. There's going to be no more newspaper articles about things missing. There's going to be no more accusations on Facebook. There's going to be no more accusations in letters to the editor. The office is going to be run properly. It's going to be run very, very detail-oriented. And there's going to be policies and procedures put in place, which is what I actually suggested to Robin 4 years ago. We need to get some policies and procedures in this office, because they don't have any. They have nothing. Falcon Finlinson states that there's no guidelines to run the office, and that's not true. NRS 253 is pretty detailed, tells him what to do. And if he doesn't have them, he could have went to the other county public administrators like I have done. And if I can get elected, I can get those. That's it.
Great. We have a couple questions for you. I do have a note somebody slipped on my desk that says, please remind the crowd to please be quiet while candidates are speaking. So evidently, someone was having an issue. So please remember, folks. Okay, Robert, the county administrator's office is controlled by state law, which provides that the office is funded via a commission basis upon the value of the property disposed. This system has been called into question many times over the years and throughout the entire state. Do you support the existing system, or would you support a reorganization of the controlling laws? And please explain your answer.
The existing system could work. If you changed it and made a paid position, it could work. I've stated before, the people in Enron made millions and they still wanted more. What you have to have is, regardless of the system you put in place, you have to have somebody that's going to be honest when they run it, they're going to be accountable, they're going to document everything they have, and they're going to involve their bosses, which is the Nye County Commissioners. It doesn't matter what system you have in place, you have to have the right people running it. Thus far, we've not had that, and it goes back 20, 30 years.
Robert, I have to kick in. The question was, do you support the existing system, or would you support a change?
I'm getting it. So, it doesn't matter, I can support both of them. That's the answer to the question. The explanation of the question is, it doesn't matter what you have to have honest people running that office.
Okay, good enough.
The pay system is not going to matter.
Good enough. And the second question, our current administrator allows his deputies to handle virtually all of the administrator's cases. If you become the administrator, how will you operate and will you personally handle any of the cases in the field?
Mr. Finlinson handled one case, and that was the Gary Timmerman estate, which was worth about $700,000. Robin has handled the rest of the estates, Robin and Charlene Riley. They've charged up to $150 an hour to sort files, to clean yards. There's instances where there are firearms missing. The bottom line is, if I get elected, my name will be on everything. I will take personal accountability for what goes on in that office. I will make sure things are documented properly. I will ensure that I am responsible for what the county public administrators do. I will not send a deputy public administrator into court, that doesn't know what they're doing. We want to have people trained, we want to have them effective, we want to have them efficient, and we want to make sure that when somebody dies, we don't hear bad things about the public administrator's office. We want to hear that it was effective, efficient, got the job done, and the heirs got their inheritance, because it is your inheritance, it's not the public administrator's office.
Robert, thank you very much. We appreciate it. From here, I'd like to invite the 5th District Court Department 2, that would be Robert Lane and Lillian Donahue, to come on up to the stage. Oh, and Robert, if you'll please do a critique sheet. Thank you. A critique sheet of yours. That's perfect. Thanks. You have 90 seconds to give an introduction and talk about your campaign.
Hi, I'm Lillian Donahue, and I've lived here in Nye County for 11 years now. I'm a 38-year lawyer, and I practiced in the civil and in the criminal areas. I'm a graduate of UNLV. I am very deeply rooted here in Nevada. I'm a big believer in that in our constitutional republic, that we are governed by the rule of law, and that no one is above the law, that the law must be applied equally to everyone, and the rule book for the judges is this U.S. Constitution. I have a great interest in helping people and the community as a whole, and I've covered a large area here. We're in Nye County, we're in Esmeralda, and we're also in Mineral, and it's been wonderful meeting everyone and getting to know this area even more fully. All my experiences have led me to run here for judge. I've thoroughly enjoyed this campaign. I'm not going to be a legislator from the bench. I will not be making the law. I will enforce the law and apply the law. I will apply it without prejudice. They always have Lady Justice with her blindfold on, and that's what we need. We have to have, everyone has to have their day in court. We have to have no preconceived notions, and to treat everyone equally. I believe that judges are the guardians of the law, and that the principle that no one's above the law and the law must be applied equally to all must be applied at all times. The judges are subject to the law.
Thank you. Okay, Robert, you have 90 seconds, please.
My name is Robert Lane. I've been the district court judge for the last 14 years, doing criminal, civil, family, juvenile, probate, DCFS, and specialty courts. I started the drug court about 12 years ago and the juvenile drug court 11 years ago. We have the second busiest jurisdiction in the state of Nevada in the number of cases per judge, 2,700 cases. And most of the years I handled Prump while Judge Davis did the North. So I was doing about 60–70% of the caseload. And as you can see, that's thousands of cases. But I'm pretty fast. We get most of the orders out within a couple of days. I come to work early each day, work through lunch. I've never been sick. I've never been late. I've never missed court. I have an excellent record. I've rarely been reversed. Haven't had to redo any trials, criminal or civil. No mistrials, which saves the county time and money. I follow the law. I'm fair, and I've ruled for and against rich peoples, DAs, commissioners, town boards, ranchers, and I'm fair to everybody in court. I'm friendly to everybody in court. I have a sense of humor, and I'm patient. Before anybody's done in court, everyone who appears in front of me, I say, any more questions, anything you'd like to ask? I'm active in the community as on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, No to Abuse. I give to all the local charities and so forth, Rotary, American Legion. I've received 2 Judicial Academic Excellence Awards. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, 6.5 years on the submarines, and I'm married.
Best for last. All right, Judge Lane, first question goes to you. What are the biggest challenges facing the district court, and what do you propose to best mitigate those challenges? 90 seconds.
I've been at a judicial conference this week. The American Judicial Association is meeting in Las Vegas, and that's all they talk about are the different challenges going on in the judiciary, security, and modern technology. And my brain's actually buzzing from all the speakers we've had this week so far at that conference. For our jurisdiction, it's probably the fact that we're the second busiest jurisdiction with 2,700 cases per judge. That's a lot. Most judges have 1,300, 1,400. Justice Hardesty from the Supreme Court was talking to me about possibly getting a third judge for the jurisdiction, or alternatively cutting Hawthorne off. We cover a 4.5-hour drive from here to Hawthorne. We got the Hawthorne, Tonopah, Goldfield, and Pahrump courts, and they're thinking about maybe giving Hawthorne over to Fallon and letting the judge there handle it. And then increasing the technology so that we can meet with people and lawyers who are calling in from Vegas and Reno, don't have to make the long drive and spend a lot of money on their attorneys by Skyping with us or doing something technological. Did I answer the question?
But specifically, as I'm about to stop you, it says, what are the biggest challenges and what are your solutions for those challenges?
Oh, I thought I answered it.
You got on it.
Technology. We're going to get Skype and other things that improve so that we can meet with people without them having to actually be present when possible.
Sounds great.
And the caseload, having Hawthorne go. Do you need me to repeat this for you?
Absolutely not. Lillian, would you like to respond or debate this issue?
I would just respond because I do agree with
Okay, 90 seconds.
with Robert Lane on that position, because we do have tremendously large caseloads here in Nye County and Mineral and Esmeralda, and we do have to be sure that we get the technology as high up and as great as we can have it.
Great. Judge Lane, you have 30 seconds to follow up if you like.
Very wise. That was very good. There's a lot more I can tell you about, so talk to me afterwards and I'll give you some more ideas of things we can work on.
Okay.
Thanks.
Lillian, next question's for you. Some district court judges choose to use law clerks and others choose to handle that workload themselves. If you were to win and become a judge, how would you operate and why?
Oh, I intend to hire an attorney who has actually graduated probably from Nevada or from California Law School, because the laws are similar, and have a licensed attorney for my law clerk, and to work with the cases with me in terms of the law.
Okay, Judge Lane, would you like to respond or debate that?
Respond, yes.
Okay.
The United States Supreme Court, Nevada Supreme Court, and most district court judges have law clerks, which are students who have just graduated from law school. Then they come and work for a judge for a year, which is a great starting point for them. They help with the research and writing and work under the judge on each case. And as far as I know, every judge has a law clerk. I think Judge Walker didn't hire a law clerk. She hired an administrative assistant instead. Same thing, though, helping her out with the cases. A lot of cases to do, a lot of research and writing. And so we use law students who have just graduated from law school to do law clerk for us.
Okay. Lillian, you can follow up with 30 seconds if you like.
No, I just prefer to have someone who's already graduated from law school and attended law school and also taken the bar and passed the bar.
Excellent. Robert, next question is for you. What is your view on the 3 strikes law when it comes to sentencing upon third felony convictions, and why?
One of the classes we had today at the conference was about mandatory minimum sentences, and judges from Canada and across the U.S. were talking about their different jurisdictions and whether or not the legislature should take that discretion from the judges and be told what the sentencing should be, which is what 3 strikes is. Once you have those 3 felonies on your record, you can then be mandatorily sentenced to an amount in prison. The conference people said that they were against it and that the discretion should be left with the judges, but I've seen a few bad judges in my life, and it's probably better that the people elect legislatures to set the guidelines of what the sentencing should be, and if the legislature and the people say 3 strikes, then you have to serve a mandatory minimum. I support it. I follow the law.
Lillian, would you like to respond or debate that?
I'll respond.
90
I
seconds.
also agree that we should follow the law in that area, that the 3 strikes rule is put in there for a reason, and it needs to be followed.
Any follow-up, Robert?
No, sir.
Okay, this is going to go quick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and there's not a problem with that. Lillian, next question for you. Would you incorporate the use of technology in an effort to increase court efficiency? And what technology would you use?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We have to continue the growth with the technology, having attorneys appear by the teleprompting system with the phones. We have to have everything done as efficiently as we can, and we have to utilize the technology so that we can get through these large caseloads that we do have out here in Nye County.
Robert, would you like to respond or debate?
Yes, I'll respond.
90 seconds.
On the technology class we had this week at the conference, they talked about giving each juror a large screen right in front of the juror so that the evidence can be shown on the screen. And I believe Judge Walker bought iPads for all the jurors using a grant that she got from the feds to accomplish that purpose. The other thing that we need to work on a little bit better here are people with disabilities. A lot of people are hard of hearing, blind, deaf, whatever, and there are technological items they talked about at the conference to help those people so that they can read the testimony and read the transcripts as it's happening so a deaf person could serve on the jury. So we're going to look into that also.
Lillian, you have 30 seconds to follow up if you like.
No, I totally agree, and I was very proud of Judge Walker and getting her iPad set up for the jurors. And also, I do have clients in court on a regular basis who have disabilities, and the hearing is a really big one in the courtrooms with the hearing aids that we apply for them, and they're often not too sufficient, and I really think we have to get that to be better. Everything we can to make it easier for everyone.
Okay. Robert, next question goes to you. With many citizens representing themselves in civil matters, what can you do to make available through the court for these pro se citizens to assist them in ensuring their forms and filings are filed logistically correct, so to help ensure justice and efficiency rather than being bogged down due to a filing technicality?
Repeat the question for me.
With many citizens representing themselves in civil matters, what can you do to make available through the court for these pro se citizens to assist them in ensuring their forms and filings are filed logistically correct, so to help ensure justice and efficiency rather than being bogged down due to filing technicalities?
I'm 55 years old, so when there's long questions, I have to write it down. We have the forms on the internet now. A lot of people at Walmart, McDonald's will walk up to me and ask me how to do things. I can tell you answers procedurally, administratively. I can help you and point you in the right direction. And a lot of citizens I send to my law clerk to help them out procedurally. The clerk's office is also very friendly with helping people. And we've got the forms on the computer. Also, the Legal Aid Society will provide assistance to people who need it for complex civil matters. And we also have a pro bono that we can appoint to people. Sometimes somebody with mental health issues will come in front of me in court and they'll have a complex civil matter and I realize they need assistance. And so I'll use our pro bono fund to appoint them an attorney to assist them. We also encourage the local attorneys to do pro bono service through the State Bar and the Nevada Supreme Court. Other than that, there's not much I can do because I'm not allowed to sit down with you and tell you what you need to do on your case. Direct you in the right direction. Thank you.
Lillian, would you like to respond or debate?
Just respond.
90 seconds.
In Clark County, they actually have a self-help center that is set up for the people, and they have all the forms in there, and they actually have people to help them with the forms and notarize the forms for them and fill them out with them. And that is a great system. If we get something like that going here, I think it would be fantastic.
Great. Judge Lane, you have 30 seconds to follow up if you like.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Lillian, next question for you. You're the candidate challenging the incumbent. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the district court, and how would you address it to solve the problem?
I think it's once again the number of cases that we have, which is so tremendous, and it has to be dealt with. And yet it takes a lot of organization, and that's why, like I said, having a lawyer for a law clerk is, I think, essential to the problem, to help to solve the problem. I think that we really need to look to getting ourselves in a situation where we are up to date on everything that we can be up to date on, and to put our money that way. I think the grants have been fantastic. Judge Wamper's new grants have been just fabulous in the drug court program, et cetera. And there's a lot of grants out there, and we have to seek those grants. And there's some good grant writers here in Nye County I've met. I think they'd be very helpful.
Okay. Robert, would you like to respond or debate?
The most important thing is that when you have a judge up on the bench, that they're reasonable, use common sense, apply the facts to the law and make a fair decision. And then when they write the order, to write it out so you understand why they're deciding what they are in case you want to appeal it up or file a motion for reconsideration. So the best thing that you could do for the district court to help it flow smoothly, have good decisions, so forth, is reelect me.
Lily, you have 30 seconds to follow up.
Well, one of the main reasons that I am running is because I do believe in the rule of law, that everyone has an equal shake in the courtroom, and I will not be putting barriers up for the impropers to make it more difficult for them. And I also am a big believer in term limits. I don't think we as citizens have to give golden parachutes to the judges. I think that we should have limits like we do with president, for governor. Everybody's got 2 terms, and I think that when we get to the point where we start getting so many years under the belts, we end up giving them fabulous retirements.
Thank you. All right, folks, you have an opportunity to do 60-second final thoughts before we have you finish. And I have to ask quickly if Anita Springs is in the audience. Anita Springs? No, then Kent Jasperson, we're going to have you up next just to make a statement and ask a couple of questions. So, Robert Lee, go ahead, 60 seconds. Final thoughts.
Thank you, sir. I've been a deputy DA for 7 years and a judge for 14 years. I'm fully vested in the state retirement system. There is no golden parachute. If I work 1 more day or 20 more years, I don't get a dime more in my retirement than I would get today. I looked up the statute, and it says that if you vest in the Nevada state retirement system after 5 years of working for the state. So if somebody gets elected to a 6-year term, they vest in the retirement system. So it'll actually cost more that way than the other way. I've worked really hard. I've been active in the community. I help people. I'm friendly in court. I'm good to the pro-per people that come into court, make sure nobody gets railroaded. I do a good job, work hard, work fast, fair, friendly. I hope you'll re-elect Judge Robert Lane back to the bench. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lily, 60 seconds for final thoughts.
As a lifetime Nevadan, I know that I can do a good job and that I have experience 38 years as an attorney, and I can take care of the job and be able to do a good job for you. I've been very, very active in this community, as many of you know. I've put a lot of volunteer hours into many, many areas. I've worked on the High Desert Prison. I've worked on all kinds of situations for the pro bono work for this county, because it is so important. And then my call to fame is I work with the Missing Exploited Children program out of Washington, D.C., where I've helped to rescue children and get them back home to their rightful homes. And that's cost me a lot of money and a lot of time, but it was very worthwhile. And I have a day in my honor by Governor Gwynn because of such.
Great. Thank you very much. If you please grab your critique sheets from Lisa Marie, fill them out, and bring it back up to me. I'd appreciate that. And it looks like somebody wants to grab your picture. And Ken Jasperson, come on down. Ken, your opponent is not here, so why don't we give you a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself, and then we have a couple of questions to ask.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kent Jasperson. I've been your Justice of the Peace for the last 5.5 years. I've been involved in the justice system for over 30 years. I would like to continue in that role that I'm in currently. I like serving the public. I served the public for 25 years as a deputy sheriff, and I've served you, as I said, for the last 5.5 years as your Justice of the Peace. I believe in being fair. I believe in being forthright. I believe in hearing both sides of the story before I make a decision. I believe that everybody is innocent until proven guilty under the law, and it's up to the state, also known as the district attorney's office, to be able to prove that guilt before somebody can be found guilty. I would like to continue with what I'm doing. I believe in making the court accessible to the public. I'm continuing that role. I would like to take just 1 second to correct a statement that was made by Clerk San Marlino with regards to the JustWare system, and she said that we are currently having to do all of our stats by hand. That's partially true, and the reason we're having to do that is because we got mandated by the AOC, who said that since we went to a new case management system, that the stats aren't proven. So for a period of time, we have to do them manually until the system is proven that the stats that they're putting out are accurate. It's not that the system isn't accurate, the AOC wants it to be proven to them that the system is accurate. So that's why my clerks, I have a couple that are working on that do that monthly manually just to verify the stats that are in the system.
Okay, you ready for a couple questions? Sure. Okay, here's your first one. You have 90 seconds on it. What are the biggest challenges facing the Justice Court, and what do you propose to best mitigate those challenges?
The biggest challenges that face the Justice Court system is the caseload that we have to manage. As I said, I've been on the bench for the last 5.5 years, and we got to pull a lot of statistical data over that time period when we went to the new case management system. In the last 5.5 years that I've been on the bench, I am either currently presiding over or have presided over 19,000 cases in 5.5 years. With regards to that, my position was mandated by the state because of the population base. When I was elected to this position, which was the second JP, we were not allowed, because of the economic situation of the county, to increase any of the personnel that work in the court system currently. So for the last 5.5 years that I've been there, those personnel were there before I started. Their workload has doubled. So we're trying to mitigate that with modern technology. We're trying to take a lot of things that we used to do manually and try to do it electronically to cut down the amount of time and the amount of paperwork and files that the staff has to handle to relieve their workload. Thank you.
Okay, and second question. With many citizens representing themselves in misdemeanor criminal cases in your court, how do you ensure that their rights are protected when being prosecuted by a seasoned attorney?
Well, it's my job up there when dealing with that type of situation to ensure that the attorney plays by the rules the same as everyone else. A lot of people that choose to represent themselves in the court system aren't as educated in the law as a seasoned attorney and don't know all of the ins and outs. Therefore, it's up to me to mitigate that by giving the citizen perhaps a little more leeway in the procedure, a little more leniency with testifying and asking questions. I take the time when I have pro se litigants in my courtroom to explain procedures to them, explain how to ask questions, make sure they understand things, make sure they know that when they come to court, they need to bring their evidence with them on that day. If they have any witnesses, they need to bring their witnesses with them on that day. I explain to them that they have a right to discovery that they can get from the district attorney's office prior to court so that they can review what the district attorney's office has available. And above all means, ensure that their constitutional rights are not violated in any way, even though the attorney that's in there is more seasoned than they are.
Great, thanks. Do you have 30 seconds you want to follow up on anything?
The only thing that I would want to follow up on is, again, I would like to thank the Nugget and K9 Radio and everyone for putting this on and giving us an opportunity to come up here and address these issues with the people here. Thank you very much, and I would ask for your vote and your support again on November 4th to re-elect me to do the job that I've been doing and continue in that role. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. And opening statements. Shirley, let's start with you.
Great. I'm Shirley Gatson, your current assessor. One of the reasons that I decided to run was because when I looked at some of the people that decided to run, it was pretty obvious they weren't qualified. I've enjoyed being the assessor. I like what I do. And hopefully I'll continue to be able to go on with that. I have then had the opportunity to have a pretty hefty technology fund, unlike the clerk and so forth. In fact, I started to feel a little sorry for him. But it has allowed me to bring a lot of technology into the office, upgrade many of the computers. My office kind of supports the GIS department. I have some state-of-the-art aerials that we are now using that are great tool for the appraisers. They can, when they're doing their assessing, saves a lot of time. I noticed that I think the whole county really likes the aerial system that we have. I know on the webpage, on my website, on the county website, I have actually put my own email address in there, and I do not screen calls or emails, so thank you.
Okay. Sherry, 90 seconds, please.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the Nugget for allowing us to have this event here, and I'd like to thank you, the audience, for coming. My name is Sherry Stringer, and I want to be your next Nye County Assessor. I've been a resident of Pahrump for 38 years. Before coming to the Assessor's Office, I worked for Bank of America for 11 years. My late husband and I owned and operated Desert Pump Service and Supply for 12 years. I came to the Assessor's Office in 2003, and I started as a data entry clerk, and I worked my way up to a personal property appraiser collection clerk in 2009. I am licensed by the state of Nevada. I do have a, excuse me, excuse me, I have a cold. I do have a property certification as well. I am a proud citizen of Nye County. I am very community oriented. I play softball, I bowl, I play bingo. I'm just kind of an all-around fun kind of gal. A lot of you in this room know me. I've been here for a very long time, and I continue to stay here. I love this community, and I hope that I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Okay, ladies, first question. What the hell is going on down at your office? That's a joke. That's a joke. Fine. Folks, I have to. Okay.
Bad joke.
We wanted to break the ice just a little bit here. Okay, Shirley, first question to you. State law requires assessment of property every 5 years. Under what circumstances would you have a property reassessed in less than 5 years, and why?
Well, there could be a variety of reasons. It could be some additions onto a home. There could be a home that was just sold that comes in, and then we would go ahead and have tell the appraiser that there has been a new home sold. In those instances, we would have somebody go out there. Additionally, if I had a citizens come in and we looked through their assessment and they felt there were some issues, in those instances, I might actually ask for another assessment. So there's really a variety of reasons why one would do that. But probably the most common is that it's just that when you're either adding new structure to your home or that you are actually maybe just purchased a home. So those would be the primary reasons.
Sherry, would you like to respond or debate?
I'll respond.
90 seconds.
NRS 361 states that we are required to reappraise a property every 5 years. And there are certain instances when a property is reappraised before that 5 year. If there was a fire, if there was structural damage, if there were building permits that came across the appraiser's desk, that they added a garage, or there was concrete work, or something of that nature, something that hadn't been on the tax roll prior, then yes, we would go out and do a reappraisal.
Okay. Shirley, would you like to follow up? You have 30 seconds.
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. Sherry, next question is for you. What qualifications do you have for the office of assessor, and how does that compare with the qualifications requirements outlined in Nevada law?
Well, the qualifications that I have for the office, I think I am a personal property appraiser. There really aren't any qualifications to entering into this position. There isn't anything that states that you have to be a certified appraiser with the Department of Taxation. I believe hands-on training is your best bet. I've been in the office for 10 years. I started at the ground level and I've worked my way up. I've done everything from taking payments to making bank deposits to answering customers' questions to going out with the appraisers when we didn't have a data collector and drawing pictures, which I'm not very good at. I can't draw a straight line to save my soul. But you pick up and you learn different areas of the job, and I feel that that is the most important aspect of the job, is to be able to come in and know how the office runs, know what the ins and outs are, and to be able to just come in and take off running.
Okay. Shirley, would you like to respond? I'm sorry. Yeah, respond or debate. Just
Sure,
remembering where I am.
I'll respond.
90 seconds.
Okay, my qualifications are I have 38 years in the real property industry with builders. At one point in time, I owned an escrow company. I've been an underwriter, pretty much everything that you can think of that has to do with real estate. And it gives me kind of an insight as well into some of the transfer documents, the deeds that we have. And so we have a lot of those, and many of them are not really as good as they should be, and we spend a lot of time on them. So does my mapping administrator. But I do have a lot of experience, and I do have a California real estate broker's license in good standing. I have a Nevada real estate license, which is right now on hold while I'm taking office. I have an AA degree in business and real estate, and I am also certified by the state of Nevada Tax Board.
Okay, Sharon, you have 30 seconds. Follow up if you like.
Yes, thank you. The difference that Ms. Mattson talks about is that she is a real estate appraiser or broker. It's totally different from the Department of Taxation appraisal system.
Okay. Sure, next question is for you. What are the current performance standards in the Nye County Assessor's Office, and how are they evaluated?
Well, I have certain standards that I would like to pursue. It's been a little difficult to maybe get some of those implemented, whereas a lot of people like to, the staff that I get prefer the status quo. But right now, I can tell you that the appraisers are all certified, and they do a pretty good job, although I think we could, raise the bar, do a little bit better, be a little bit faster at it, so.
Okay. Sharon, would you like to respond or debate?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Sure. What are the current performance standards in the Nye County Assessor's Office, and how are they evaluated?
Well, I've been there since 2003, and when Ms. Mattson took over, I received a performance evaluation exceeding expectations. But since then, I have never received another one. I don't know of any of the other employees. I do feel that the level in the office is extremely low, and I believe that if I was elected that I would elevate that. Everyone needs a pat on the back. We don't need to be torn down and broken. We do a good job. We do a darn good job. The appraisers in that office and the staff work very well together. And that's what I want to see. I want to see that level of excellence back up to what it was before the current administration came in.
You have a 30-second follow-up.
Of course, I would like that as well, and sometimes it's really hard to get people to cooperate with you in that manner. One of the reasons that I no longer do reviews has to do with something that went on that basically I was told that I was papering the files. So I don't want to paper the files. I don't want to give anybody anything negative. So.
Okay. Sherry, next question is for you. It's reported there are some questionably low assessed values to some properties within the county, and some which have been removed altogether. Please explain this issue and how you would address it if elected.
Well, I don't know exactly what they're talking about as far as low assessed values. There have been reassessments. I don't know exactly if you're talking about in the northern part where it was requested that the officials and certain individuals in that area had their properties reassessed on one person's feeling that they weren't being upheld to their highest level. As I said before, the appraisers in the office, we're not there. We don't do favoritism. We're there to do a job. We're mandated by the state, and that's what we do. I do not feel that any of the appraisers would especially put their job in jeopardy to do something like that. I don't feel that that is an appropriate statement.
Shirley, would you like to respond or debate?
I guess we'll debate.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay.
And keep in mind, about 15 seconds or so back and forth with the microphone, something like that.
All right, fine. There are some inequities in the assessments throughout the county. That's why you have to have someone from the outside come in, and I have discovered that. And there are some favors that are being done out there because I get reports of those and I follow up on them. And that's something that really needs to stop right away. So it is a little bit of an issue.
Well, I guess I would have to ask then, where is that documentation? Because we've never seen it.
Sherry, that's probably not something I'm going to share with you. I mean, it's my job to receive that information and make the judgment call, and my determination is what it is. It's not something that I need to justify with you. So
I understand that, but you need to justify it with the employees that it pertains to, and none of us have seen that.
Well, I guess I can start getting that out and showing you where it is. But I have found it, you guys. It definitely is there. It's not fair across the board. We're seeing like properties where some have less amenities or less square footage, less driveways, less fences that are being assessed higher than or less than some that are not even, that are much smaller. It is happening. And it really needs to be dealt with.
And then I guess you could say that the replacement cost new less depreciation would come into effect because not all properties are the same. They're not all built the same year. They're not all done with the same 2x4s or 2x6s or concrete or stucco or the wood siding. Everything is different on the appraisals.
5 seconds. Absolutely, they're different. And that has been taken into account.
Okay, there's a time. All right, Shirley, next question is to you. How are you going to improve the public perception and repair the reputation of the assessor's office?
Well, it really, I think, comes down to actually having some employees that are kind of open-minded, want to be team players, really want to cooperate with me. I know they have a hard time realizing that I'm the boss, and so I don't really get a lot of that. Now, what I am doing right now is I'm trying to get some diversity, and I am hiring somebody additional, and I think when I get a good mix in there of people that are qualified, that aren't maybe, they're not as much into gossiping and what have you, that we'll have a much better situation. And so, again, I'm trying to get that diversity in there, and I do have that coming on board. The assessor's office, there's nothing I can say about it. It seems like no matter what I do, it's a bad decision according to the newspaper. So there's not really going to be a lot that I can do about that, other than the fact that I know I'm honest and I do a great job. I work hard. I give 100%, and I'm there all the time.
Terry, would you like to respond or debate?
I'll just respond.
90 seconds.
I believe what the assessor's office needs is a new administration. We have been browbeat, and I believe that what needs to happen is that the assessor's office needs to stay out of the newspaper, for one. It's been a total embarrassment to the county, to the citizens of Nye County, to the employees that work there. And all I can say is that under my administration, that will not happen.
Shirley, you have 30 seconds to follow up.
Well, I too am embarrassed by some of the shenanigans that have been pulled by some of the employees. and by getting in the paper. And when we talk about individuals getting items in the paper, it seems like it's some in the staff tend to always call the newspaper, no matter what it is. So there's a lot of things that they like to sort of get out there and have the perception that there is a problem in the office. But I can't really control them. But I just don't know what to tell you about those guys.
All right. Sherry, last question for you. You're the candidate challenging the incumbent. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the assessor's office, and how would you address it?
Relieving the current administration from her duties. That is the biggest problem. Like I said, I've been in the assessor's office for the last 10 years. We have never, ever had the issues that we have. The women that are in those offices, north and south, are extremely qualified. We have appraisers in there that have been doing their job for over 20 years, and we have a current administration that won't allow us to go and ask questions of these people. We need that. We look for that guidance. I've been doing the personal appraiser position since 2009. There's a woman in our office that did it before me. I still go to her and ask for guidance because I don't know all the answers. Nobody does. That's why you have your senior employees. That's why you go to them. That's where I believe a lot of the issue comes from. Yes, we lost a lot of staff. We're all doing double duty, you know, but the current administration needs to understand that we have to be able to use other resources than just her because she does not have all the answers.
Shirley, would you like to respond or debate?
Oh, I'll respond.
90 seconds.
I'm sorry, I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my entire life. First of all, I'm not there all the time. I go between the two offices. I have many other things that I do, reports. I'm usually working in my office. They can go speak with each other at any opportunity. They're never prevented from doing that, nor could I do that. And so what we need to have happen in our office is that we need to have some women that they need to grow up, they need to realize that we are here to take care of the citizens, that this just isn't a place for them to come and collect their paycheck. They really need to do a great job. They need to be cooperative with their elected official. That's me. And so it's unfortunate, but that's the way it works. I'm not going to, yeah, they have some experience, but from what I've seen around the entire state, believe me, not everybody in that office is top-notch. I do have some gals that are great, that are a privilege to work with, and always out there that always want to help. But I just really don't have that with some of these women. They just don't like to cooperate. Nothing I can do about it.
Sherry, you have 30 seconds that you can follow up.
It's all right, I'm good.
Okay, then we'll move to closing comments. Sherry, your first 60 seconds.
I think I've said it all. Again, my name is Sherry Stringer. I thank you so much for coming out and listening to the candidates, not only us, but all of the candidates, because it is very important to make an educated decision on who you're going to put into office, because you are what's important, okay? And never forget that. You know, I'm a big believer in not voting for your party. I want to make sure that people vote for who is the best candidate that's going to do the job for you, okay, and me. I'm a citizen, I'm a taxpayer. I want to make sure that I put the right person in office. So again, my name is Sherry Stringer. I appreciate your support and your vote on November 4th. Thank you and have a good evening.
And Shirley, you now have 60 seconds to close it out.
Great. Granted, I'm not perfect, but I do give 100% of myself to my job. And my own philosophy is that I work for those that hired me, and those are the voters. I'm not involved with any outside interests or the union. I'm there for you. I try and make time with every citizen that comes in the door and wants to spend a few moments speaking with me, and there may be some of you in the audience that do that. And just so you know, most of the people that I work with, other than maybe a couple of the gals in the office, I get accolades, and I thank so much for a lot of the extra work that I do to go in and solve issues. So please vote for me. I'm the most qualified. My name is Shirley Manson.
Ladies, thank you very much. If you'll please grab your critique forms from Lisa Marie, once they're filled out, if you please return them to me. And next up, I would like to call the County Commission District 5 candidates up. That would be Dan Shinhofen, Rick Osborne, and Bob Howard. There is a third chair on the stage. If you please bring it on up and make room for the three of you.
Thanks.
Congratulations on your win. You were good. I was going to tease you, and then you turned out to be really good. I was like, oh my God, he can dance.
Gentlemen, step on up, take a seat, and we will start with 90-second intros. Dan, why don't you begin?
I'd like to thank the Nugget and...
Hold on just a second, if you'll reset the clock. Folks, please, we've got Commission District 5 up on the stage. We'll be moving to Sheriff and District Attorney afterwards. So please keep the conversations to a minimum or out in the hall. Dan, please restart.
All right, my name is Dan Shinhofen. I'm currently the chairman of Nye County Commission. This is my first term as a county commissioner. It's actually my first term as any elected office. I'd like to thank Kenai and Nugget for putting this on. Thank you all for coming out and sitting so long and listening. This is the only office I've ever held. It's the only office I plan to hold. It's not a career for me. I haven't spent my life in government service. I've spent my life in the private sector. And I think having private sector experience is really a bonus, something that you all want in your county commissioner, someone who knows that you sign the front of a paycheck, not just the back. I've worked to get nine other counties sign a resolution to call on the federal government to move forward with the licensing process so we can get the science on Yucca Mountain. That was one of the first two resolutions I got passed. The second one was opening our meetings in prayer, so we take a minute to realize that we all answer to somebody. I've worked on flood improvements, got Mountain Falls to pay for the flood improvements along Game Bird and behind the Mountain Falls project. Worked to improve roads. I've worked with business really well, and I don't want to see the red light. So my name is Dan Shinhofen. I hope you will for me again. Like I said.
All right, folks, one last time. I'm still hearing quite a bit of discussion coming from the back of the room and several people back there doing this. So please, if you'll keep the conversations in the room to a minimum, or that's a nice way of saying stop talking, and take it out into the hallway if you would. The doors are closed. You can go out there and have a great conversation. So, Bob Howard, you're up.
Yeah, my name's Bob Howard. I've lived here in the valley for 25 years. I built my house about 15 years ago.
Bob, please hold the microphone closer to your mouth.
Oh, okay. I've never run for office. This is the first time I've run for public office, but I've been pretty disgusted with the way things have been going in the county. And I think there needs to be some things changed, and that's the reason I'm running. I'm retired. I have no reason to be running for office, but I'm just not happy with things that are going in the county. I worked for the federal government for 30 years, and in those 30 years, it was all about solving problems. The last 20 years I worked in computers, and when you work in computers, all you're doing is solving problems, and that's what we need here in the county. We need problems solved. We need people to do things. I want to see something done about this flood problem we're going to have. Just luckily, them 5 hurricanes didn't come far enough north. What if those hurricanes come a little bit north next time? Because it seems the weather pattern is changing. So that's one thing I want to work on. The other thing I want to work on is seeing about getting a parking light system between here and Las Vegas. So I've got some ideas I'd like to see incorporated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Rick Osborne, your turn, 90 seconds.
Thank you. I also would like to thank the organizers of this event and thank all of you for coming out tonight. I moved here in Nye County, Pahrump, in 2008. Prior to that, I was born and raised in Ohio. I enlisted in the United States Army Reserve, served in the reserve from 67 to 71. I spent 25 years in law enforcement. I was an elected treasurer in Talmadge, Ohio. I served as a director of administration for the city of Talmadge for 7 years. Subsequently, I was interested in a job solicitation that popped up from Nye County. I applied for it, and it was here in 2008 that I came and participated with the process, the vetting process for the county manager position. I was successful in that. The Board of County Commissioners in 2008 offered me the position, and I moved down here and served in that capacity until January of 2012. And I would like to be the commissioner from District 5, and I hope you will give me that consideration.
Thank you. Dan, first question goes to you. With the Pahrump Town Board dissolving as of January 5th, what is your position on appointing an advisory panel to replace the town board or not? Please explain.
Okay. I've said publicly many times, I think that we should have an advisory board. The county commission currently sits as the Gabbs Town Board, the on and on. There's a lot that we deal with. So it'd be good to have people who will see those issues first and can sort through them before they come to us. We have quite a lot we do and have to read and understand before we make our votes. So I'm in favor of a board, an advisory board, because that's what the people voted for, to get rid of the elected board. I don't know that it'll happen right away. There's a lot of issues that we're going to look at come January, and to assure the people who work for the town again, there's only 5 people losing their jobs January 5th, for sure, and that's the town board members.
Bob?
Yeah, I've given this a lot of thought. One thing I don't want to do is dissolve the city itself. I mean, let them people know they have a job. We have a city manager who seems to be doing a heck of a good job. In a way, without talking to some other people and kicking around some ideas, I'd like to just let her run the city with the budget that she has. And then anything that has to be done other than what's in the budget, come before the county commissioners and get approval. But don't do anything to disturb the city. Let the city exist as it does today. And then let county commissioners make any decision that affects money or personnel or things like that. And let's sit down in January and have a workshop or something where we can get ideas. We get an advisory board, would it do any better than having a manager or a mayor or whatever you want to call the person, and then let the Board of County Commissioners take care of the financial and personnel problems? Thank you.
Okay, Rick?
Well, there are jobs that still have to be done in the town of Pahrump. Somebody is going to have to do them. I don't think you're going to have people that work for the county beating down the county manager's door asking for more work, but that may be the eventual outcome of everything once they've had some meetings to decide what it is they want to do.
Stand by 1 second. Rick, just so you know, I want to reread the question just so we're clear, because we're going off a little bit. The question is, what's your position on appointing an advisory panel to replace the town board or not?
All right, I believe that the advisory board is a good thing. We have that in existence around Nye County. It works in a lot of other areas, and I don't see why it won't work here. I know there were some deep-seated problems that popped up over time. When I was the county manager here, we had a lot of them, and I believe that
having an advisory board is a good thing.
Dan, would you like to take a 30-second follow-up? Or have we beaten the source?
I think we beat it. If you want me to clarify the things that Bob was talking about, is the things
It's
we
your
plan to
30
do.
seconds. Your 30 seconds.
Well, that's what we plan to do. That's why I'm not talking about who's going to lose whatever. The town is still going to continue. The town is going to continue. There's still going to be those services provided by the town. All you're going to have is a change in the board that finally makes that decision will be us. So we're not going to do anything that isn't going to be in a public hearing where everybody's going to get to see what's going on. That's why I won't say is this going, is that going. It's not prudent.
Okay. Next question is for Rick. The proposed county fairground is located in District 5. The Binion property in the middle of Pahrump has recently been proposed as an alternative site for the county fairground. With the financial challenges facing the county at either property requiring substantial financial investment, what plan, if any, would you support and why?
Well, I understand that there is a study underway on the Binion property to determine whether or not it could be a viable purchase for the county. And as far as I know, that report has not been made public yet, so I would wait to see what that report says, because we want to know whether or not it is going to be a viable entity for the county to purchase. Having said that, I don't think it's a good idea to call the Binion property the same thing that we have for the county fairgrounds out on the south end of town. As I understand it, that property was granted from BLM, and BLM had a caveat in there that said as long as it's developed for public use as a fairgrounds, it would be fine. But if we call another property the fairgrounds, I think we might lose that 400 acres. And we have to remember that the Binion property is about 130 acres, whereas the fairgrounds property is over 400. So we don't want to give that up. And I do know that it's going to cost a lot of money to make that workable at the fairgrounds on the south end. But I think we have to be careful what we call this.
All right. Dan, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Okay. We are waiting for a study. That's why I wasn't about to make a vote on $2.2 million without any backup. We're waiting to get more facts. I'm not going to spend our money, and that means yours and mine, on anything like that. The fairgrounds itself is very workable. There's 3 great areas I've identified for retention basins to continue the work I've started on flood control. In January, when we sit as a town board, let me say all of this has to be done under the town board. It should be under the town because the property was given to the town. So town monies that'll help develop that. And the Binion's property should be addressed by the town board first, not the county. So in the second meeting in January, I plan to bring forward a plan to the area that are already fenced in at the fairgrounds and is ready to go, that has a parking lot of 250 spaces, to put grass, trees, and a stage out there so it can be used. It's 20 acres, it's fenced in, it's 4 times the size of Petrick Park. So those are some of the things I'm already working on. So, but you're not going to get me to spend $2 million until I get some facts behind the issue.
Bob Howard, 90 seconds.
Yeah, it's a big problem. I mean, first of all, nobody really seems to know what to do with the fairgrounds. Either we're going to build the fairgrounds or we're not going to build the fairgrounds. Is it going to be a city thing or is it going to be a county thing? I mean, the county seems to have as much to do with it as what the city, but belongs to the
Bob,
city.
please hold the microphone close to you.
But it belongs to the city. And now with the Binion property, yeah, it's a nice piece of property. But if the fairgrounds is good for a fairground, why do we need another piece? The thing to do with the Binion property is turn it into a small industrial center or a small or a big shopping area or something like that, something to be vital. We don't need both big pieces of property. Yeah, it takes $2 million to buy it, then what's it going to take to prepare the ground to use it for something? If we've got that kind of money, why aren't we doing something out in the fairgrounds? And we're not. So I don't think it's feasible to think about owning both pieces of ground. You gotta sit down and look at it, is it good to do this, or is it good to do that? It's something I think we need to sit down in a workshop and talk to everybody and get everybody's ideas.
Rick, you have an opportunity for a 30-second follow-up if you like.
All right, some of the ideas that I've heard proposed for the Binion property have to do with making it kind of a park-like setting where people would come and pay admissions and do those kinds of things. And that may turn out to be part of the report that we're waiting to hear about. But we have to remember if the county does that, the county can't do things very inexpensively. When you're talking about adding more employees, we have to be very careful about that because that cost gets away from us.
Okay, thank you. Bob Howard, next question goes to you. With the availability of water being of major concern, what is your vision on the preservation of Pahrum's rural lifestyle or expansion into higher density residential communities?
Water is one of my favorite subjects. When I first moved here, I was told we have the third largest aquifilter in the third largest county in the United States. Well, I thought water was no problem. I think we need to keep our rural lifestyle. I like it here. I didn't have to move here for all. I traveled my motorhome and came here. I loved it out here. I love the sunshine. I love the open sky. We don't want to destroy that. I'm against these small lots. You drive into Vegas and the first complex you see after you get down around Durango and stuff are those 3-story houses, all right next to each other. You can touch your neighbor's hand, I'm sure. We don't want that in Pahrump. And if anything, I would increase the minimum lot size. Instead of having 4,000, 8,000 feet, I'd like to have no less than a third of an acre, or a quarter of an acre at the very least, and preserve our water. And you get a bunch of houses in a small area, you're going to use up a lot of water. And the guy that has a big piece of property, he won't even be able to get any water. So I think we need to keep the rural lifestyle.
All right, Rick.
Well, protecting our water resources is paramount in my mind. Wells as well. And I know that there's a lot of people that believe that the government entities are out to try and take their wells away from them. And I'm telling you that if I'm elected, I'm going to fight that tooth and nail. I don't think that government should be taking property rights away from people. We do have to look at our water resources. There's a problem here, and we all know it. They've drawn too many proposed homes up for the amount of resources that we have water-wise. And we're going to have to rethink that whole thing because I know there's probably 20 or 30,000 homes on paper that there probably isn't water resources for. And I don't mean to try and create an alarm on that and say that we're going to run out of water next week, but I'm saying we have to use smart growth in trying to develop Nye County and particularly down here.
Dan, your turn. 90 seconds.
90 seconds, I'll try. It's a big question, it's a big concern. First off, I'm sure Rick is aware when he was county manager that the local government has no authority to cap your wells. And if the county commission voted to cap your wells, we'd have to cap our own. Nobody's capped my well. We have done lots of things to find out how much water we have, including we have a volunteer well program, which I volunteered early on for them to meter my well. I was told that's a bad idea because now they can come in and charge me. No, they can't. I know how to use pipe wrenches. I can take it off and throw it over the fence. Whether we have a rural town or not, I think we have room for both. like Artesia, like Mountain Falls, but the barrack homes that Bob referred to down in Vegas, when I was on the planning commission, I voted against those things. I don't think we want to be Vegas light up here. We have our own identity. But all the issues concerning water, we have our hands on that. We're trying to work with the state engineer. If anybody's going to do anything to your wells, it will be the state engineer, but then that's a right in the Constitution, so they're not going to take your wells. But moving forward, we have to use intelligent planning moving forward. A lot of this was divided before I got here, and I don't think we should have smaller and smaller lots. Again, Artesia is a great example of that. I believe Rick lives there. And so you can have that, and I live at the end of Homestead with a 1 acre lot. So we can have it all. I really believe that.
Right. Bob, would you like to take a 30-second follow-up?
Yeah. The water's a real problem in this town, and I don't think we should panic. First thing I can't understand is why we can't get the county, the state, the federal government, or somebody to drill a hole down through this carbonite filter I keep hearing down there. Is there water underneath there, or is there not water underneath there? And I think we need to know, and also, where do we get the water other than from the snow? Is there a river under here somewhere?
All right, next question goes to Dan. Multiple private utilities have been located within the jurisdiction of the Pahrump Town Board. With the County Commission poised to now assume that jurisdiction, will you support consideration of county acquisition of any private utilities? And please explain your support, and please support your response.
And please support my response, okay. I made 2 votes for the county to acquire private utilities. It's been said we don't have the expertise to run it. That question was asked today in the meeting, and yes, we do have the expertise. We run about 19 systems throughout the county. One was Pahrump Utilities, and we took 1.5 years and spent a lot of money studying that before it was voted down. And the last one was a $4.5 million gift that the Raceway wanted to give to the county, and the commission voted not to take that. Instead, we gave it to UICN. How many of you are on UICN? Water out here. Anybody? Okay. Are you happy with them? Okay. Well, I didn't want to give them that $4.5 million gift either. So, and to support it, currently, private companies are regulated by NDEP and the PUC. So when those private companies want to raise your rates, like UICN has done, they've doubled their rates in the last 8 years, you have to go down to Vegas to the PUC to hear their arguments. And rarely anybody does that. If the county or the town owned this municipal water system, if your rates were going to be raised, it'd be right here where you all come and talk to us anyway. It would be local. And in a private company, you don't get to vote who runs that company. If a municipal owns it, you vote us in and out. So you would own those utilities.
Bob Howard, 90 seconds.
I think we should have taken over Pahrump Utilities also, with the understanding that we take over the other 2. If you're just gonna have one, it's no good. You gotta have all of them in the county to do any good. I understand the county has their own water district in some of the other smaller towns. We were gonna hire Hazen's company to run it for 5 years. In the meantime, we'd hire somebody that would learn. You gotta walk or crawl before you walk. So we can learn to run the company just as well as anybody else. That's not a problem. The problem is you're gonna get it, and you're gonna get into the business, get in all the way, not part way. So you have 3 companies here. The agreement should have been, we go in, and we buy one, and we buy the other one, and then we buy the other one. Then you have it. You look at Southern Nevada Water District in Vegas. Hey, they're doing great, you know. They know how to run it. There's no reason we wouldn't know how to run it. And yeah, I'm agreeing we should have put that other water company over on the fairground with some certain conditions. But there had to be certain conditions to do it. And I'm worried about what's going to happen to the rate users and Utilities Inc. when that goes in, because that's actually a separate company that they're doing now. So we got to watch ourselves with that.
All right, Rick, 90 seconds.
Well, I'm not convinced that we have all of the skills, knowledge, and ability to operate one of those systems. I know I was at the meeting today and I heard the comment made that we did, but I think my interpretation anyway was that that concerned the water. That didn't have anything to do with sewerage or anything like that. So when you're talking about a system like Haven's, it's not just water, it's waste as well. And you have to have knowledge, skills, and abilities to do that. And I do understand that there was a proposal on the table that they would provide the management expertise for 5 years. I'm aware of that. But when I left as county manager, they had not yet done a total assessment of the value. And that's the one question that was still in my mind is the price that was quoted in the paper of, I think it was over $5 million that the county was going to pay for that it was touted, but I never did fully understand if a true evaluation of the total value was ever done.
Okay, Dan, would you like a 30-second follow-up?
Sure, yeah. I'm sure Rick must have forgot Mr. Osborne, they're not related, who runs our system, is qualified in all those systems, who is over, and that's what I meant by qualifications. And we do have other employees, and over time, we would have been able to train people or continue to do a management agreement so we didn't take on further employees under the county system. That was my idea with the Trump utility system. And as far as the study and valuation, the water rights alone were close to $5 million, and then the property exceeded the $5.5 million. That wasn't to mention the 5% cash flow. And we did all of these studies, and I asked to do infrastructure studies to see what kind of shape it was all in. So we really did vet that well, and I think it would be a good thing for us.
Thank you. Okay, Rick, next question for you. With the county facing potential annual budget deficits, what solutions do you have in reducing or eliminating these potential deficits?
Well, one of the things that I advocate for is a performance-based budget. Right now, if you go on our county website and look at the budget each year when it's proposed, it's basically, it looks like a line item budget. So you look at the departments and you see what the salaries and benefits and so forth are, but you need to drill down further, and performance-based budgeting does that, and that's one of the things that is my platform. I want to see that done. I talked with Pam Webster about that when I was a county manager, and it just so happened at that moment in time, we were transitioning to a new accounting system, and she convinced me that it would have been too much to throw on the employees to have a new accounting system and also throw at them a new budgetary process. She convinced me. So I said, all right, we'll put it off for a while. Well, then later on I left and it hasn't happened. But performance-based budgeting drills down and shows you what the programs cost within the departments. Like, what does DARE cost you in the sheriff's office? What does snow removal cost you in public works and so forth? So that's the advantage of performance-based budgeting.
Dan? I'm sorry, Bob. Bob, you'll be next. Same question. With the county facing potential annual budget deficits, what solutions do you support in reducing or eliminating these potential deficits?
Well, I have not looked at the county budget, but I have talked to Pam Webster about the money we spent for the jail and the bonds that we floated for them and the money that was going to be invested to pay for the bonds, and it hasn't worked out. So I'm going to talk to her some more about it and see about where we can get some more money. I am not an accountant. When I work with budgets, I was in data processing. I was in charge of all manufacturing systems, computerized. And I had to justify everything that I did. It wasn't a problem getting the money if I could justify it, so I did it. We got involved in a, well, it's not the county, but I just gotta see what you gotta spend, and here's how much money you got. We can do this, but we can't do that. So, to me, I gotta look at the budget and learn a little bit more about it, because I don't know a lot about the budget per se. But I will learn, I promise you.
Dan, 90 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not an accountant either. I've never played one on TV. This question, what have we done? We've cut $5 million and 61 employees during my last 4 years. So we've cut our costs. It's the revenues that we get in, and that everybody knows has been property values that have sunk. So we have done our best and have balanced our budget every year. Moving forward, I'd like to see another system. I've always advocated that we fund public health and safety first. I wish Rick would have fought for that idea that he had, and I'd like to see us look at doing that. Whatever else we can do, we're not a business. We can't raise our, we can't get a new product out. So we're really tied to what we have. What we can do, and what we've done is we've cut 5 million and 61 employees. And you heard many of your other candidates talking about how strapped they are for employees. That's where we are. We haven't gone out to, raise taxes to hire more people. We have lived within our budget, and I'll continue to do that.
Rick, would you like to have a 30-second follow-up?
Yes, thank you. Again, performance-based budgeting allows you in a downturn economy, and that's what we've been living in for a number of years. It allows you to more closely scrutinize the departmental budgets. And if you want to cut, which of course we have been doing that year after year, this gives you a better way to view it so you know where you can cut, where you're spending your wisest dollars.
All right, gentlemen, final question. We'll start with Bob Howard. With discussions of a red light district in District 5 at the south end of Homestead Road and the expansion of a county island to make room for another brothel, what is your position on the creation of this red light district and the expansion of the world's oldest profession?
I am single.
Good answer.
I am totally, unequivocally opposed to expanding the red light district. It's ridiculous. I say this. There's enough business down there. We don't need it. Why don't you just open up the whole town? What the heck? That's ridiculous. It shouldn't even be considered. And to me, when that offer was made, well, I'll close this down and provide me space down there. Well, right away, that's a threat to me. That would 100% turn me against him unequivocally. No, I am totally against it. I don't mind if they have another hamburger stand down there or a hot dog stand, but fine. Forget it.
All right, Dan.
Good answer.
You can sum it up by saying what he said.
No, I'm not. Because that's not making that deal is what I told that property owner. If you do this, if I do this, you'll do that. I said we don't make those deals. But Clark County years ago made prostitution illegal. We see how well that's worked out for them. So I'm not willing to get rid of it. If there is a demand for that, if there's a demand, when you talk red light district, we're not talking about brothels alone. We're talking about if it's strip club or an adult bookstore, that's what would go into those things. If businesses come here and they want to invest their money in that, I would consider looking at that. And let me tell you how close I am. I can see Sherry's and Southern Ranch, thank you, Chicken Ranch, from my backyard. So they're very close to me down there. And they're great neighbors. They're quiet. If they were bars, I'd probably see some cops and fights. It's quite a substantial investment. Some of the codes and ordinances I'm going to bring forward are going to make, if there are any new brothels built, they're going to have to be built to very good standards, very high standards. No manufactured trailers being pulled in fifth wheels. They're going to have to look as good as Sherry's Ranch does. And so if the business is there and people want to invest in this county, I'll do what I've done before. We'll do business.
I've seen those amazing binoculars that you can actually see from your backyard. They mount on a tripod.
Come down tonight.
Great door opportunity.
Well, let me tell you, I'm married. I'm not a customer of theirs in any respect, except I think I've gone down there a couple of times for sandwiches. But I don't have a problem with it. When I was county manager, they didn't cause us any trouble. They pretty much police themselves. I don't know of any issue that's ever come to the board created by the working girls. I don't know of one. So I don't have a problem with that area. You know, it's off by itself. It's out of the way. I don't have a problem with it at all. That's really all I have to say about it.
Okay, do you have a 30-second follow-up with anything to add? Go ahead, Bob.
Now, I'm not against the girls down there now. I'm just against any more going on. In fact, I'll be honest about it. I think we're better off with those girls down there than Las Vegas. But we have no girls running around here in the casino. We don't have them on the sidewalk or anything else. And I first heard about that thing, but probably back in 1988 when I first come here to work on the Stick Co-op park. And I've never been inside of either one, so I don't know. But I'm not against what's down there.
All right, what we're going to do now is you'll have 60 seconds as final thoughts, and then we're going to move on. We'll start with Dan, then Bob, then we'll finish with Rick, and I'll be right back.
Okay. To follow up with these guys, I am also terminally married. I've been married 37 years. It's terminal. I've served, and it's been an honor for the last 4 years to serve as your voice in District 5 on the county commission. I've got some things accomplished, and government moves so slow. There's a lot of things I've started I'd like to finish up for the people in my district and for the county. The reason I'm running, my 3 children own homes here, my 4 grandchildren have been born here, this is my hometown. So I have a vested interest to see moving forward we do things intelligently, that we don't overtax our water, that we don't overtax our citizens, and that we have a great place. And we do have a great place now. So all the naysayers, this is one of the greatest places in the country to live. And again, thank you, and I hope you vote for me again. I'm Dan Shinoda.
Yeah, like I say, I moved here 25 years ago, and I love the place. I got a strong background. You don't know how to do it, you give it to somebody that don't know you don't know how to do it. I was an apprentice, and I was a toolmaker apprentice. And the boss come over and give me a job. He said, "How much you make this part?" Well, I say, "So-and-so knows how to do that." Now, he's a machinist or a toolmaker of many years. He knows it can't be done. You don't know it can't be done. So they give us those jobs, we figure out a way to do it. We didn't know you couldn't do it. So that's the same thing for the water plant. You give it to somebody to figure out how to do it. I've got 30 years with the federal government. I've got 20 years last in computer systems. I worked for a private company as a private consultant for 5 years. Even the Navy called me back when I retired. They still wanted my experience.
Well, I would like to get your vote, and I hope you will give me consideration for that on Election Day. I'm a graduate of Malone University, a graduate of Northwestern University Traffic Institute. I have 40 years local government experience in varying capacities. I'm the former county manager here. I was a director of administration, which is like a city manager job. I was an elected treasurer, and I was a law enforcement officer. And through those years, I also operated a few small businesses, small bakery, beer line carry out, those kind of things. So I have a perspective from a business standpoint. I have an urge to protect all of the valuable water resources, including our wells. I want to apply smart growth to our growth and make sure we do it in an intelligent way. And I want to try and find a better solution for our road maintenance. I think that maybe the process isn't serving us well.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. If you'll please grab your complete sheets from Lisa Marie, fill those out, drop them off with me, I'd appreciate it. Next up is going to be the sheriff candidates. And okay, folks, just so you know, Sharon Worley is not in attendance. Paula Elefante has a prepared statement from Sharon. And then we will get to Rick and have some statements from him and ask a couple of questions.
Thank you. Sharon's in Tonopah tonight, and her statement says, I'm unable to attend the debate this evening due to a previously scheduled political event hosted for me in Tonopah. I will be attending the VFW meet and greet on the 9th and the Bob Ruth Community Center's Sheriff's Candidate Debate on the 14th. I believe in equal and unbiased law enforcement, and I'm the only candidate with emergency and crisis management background, and I've been involved in legislation to protect our Second Amendment rights. Thank you for understanding my plight, Sharon.
Thank you, Paula. And so everyone understands, Sharon is expected to be at the, she confirmed to me a few days ago, she will be at the VFW on Thursday night for a debate with Rick. So Rick, let me give you, since we're trying to get this thing narrowed down and finish up with the DA candidate, let me give you 60 seconds to open up. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. You got 60 seconds more to finish. Go. All right, we'll make it 90. Just get it, man. Let's get this thing moving.
All right, I want to thank Karen Jackson and Bill Carnes and the Nugget for hosting this, but most importantly, I want to thank you, the voters, for attending tonight. You took your time to come to this debate, and you gave me the opportunity to speak before you. These debates are important, for it gives you, the voter, the opportunity to address the candidate. You get to see firsthand the knowledge that a candidate has about the position. We candidates come to these debates to earn your vote. You expect and should demand your candidates to show up. I've attended every debate and every Meet the Candidates night. I too was in Northern Nevada until late last night and drove back to make sure I was here for you, the voter. I have a bachelor's degree in public administration and 2 associate's degrees. I hold an active executive certification from the Nevada Peace Officer Standards and Training Committee. I'm a graduate of the Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command. I have over 3 decades of experience as a full-time peace officer, and I've served at every level. As your elected sheriff, protecting your rights and keeping our community safe will always be a top priority. Our mission requires us to properly exercise care, to treat people with dignity and respect, to use common sense in our decision-making, but most importantly, to adhere to and defend our constitutional principles, not just in our words, but in our actions. I look forward to earning your support, to earning your vote, and serving as your next sheriff. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, Rick, like the other candidates that don't have somebody to debate for tonight, I have 2 questions for you. Here's the first one. Federal agencies are required by federal law to coordinate with the local authorities prior to service of a warrant in local jurisdictions. As sheriff, would you enforce that federal mandate of prior coordination with NCSO? And based upon your answer, how would you treat federal agents if they failed to follow that federal law and intruded into Nye County without your prior authorization? 90 seconds.
First part of it is absolutely, I would enforce that. Second part of it is that they would be subject to the same procedures as anybody else that would violate any law in Nye County.
You didn't give me enough time to read that comment, but that's okay. We'll move on to question 2. How many people in here carry guns? This is about the second time tonight. Just so you know. Do you? Okay. Of all of the dozens of enumerated individual rights protected by the U.S. Constitution, only the Second Amendment states shall not be infringed. There are more than a dozen Supreme Court decisions and some 20,000 gun laws throughout the U.S. regarding the Second Amendment. In your opinion, what infringements upon the rights to keep and bear arms are lawful here in Nye County?
One of the reasons that I was endorsed by the Nevada Firearms Coalition and I have an AQ rating from the NRA is my stance on the Second Amendment. Your right to protect your family, protect your loved ones, and protect your property is vested in your right to carry your firearm. And I believe in constitutional carry, and there will be no infringement on your Second Amendment rights when I am your sheriff.
Thank you, Rick. You get an opportunity for 60 seconds of final thoughts before we call the district attorney candidates up.
I want to thank my wife, Kristen. We just celebrated our 27th wedding anniversary. Without her support, her constant support, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. My wife and I have been active in every community we've lived in. I have the most experience, the most education. I'm proud to have Rick Dugan on board with me as my second in command. I want to thank everybody for the support that they've shown me. I ask for your vote. I look forward to serving as your next sheriff. Oh, one last thing. I won't need 100 days to make a difference. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. If you can grab a critique sheet, fill it out, and turn it in to me. Let's next bring up Angela Bello and Brian Coonsey. This will be the final debate for the night. Folks, again, as you would be filtering out at the end, please fill out a critique sheet yourself if you would. This helps us to improve these debates in the future. This is what we're trying to do, to keep the community active in this. And if there's places for us to improve, that's what we want to hear. Obviously attorneys, because they're bringing up all of their paperwork and setting it out appropriately on the desk. Thanks for being patient. We're trying to crescendo. So here we go. Brian, as the incumbent, why don't you go ahead and begin with the 90-second introduction. Angela, if you could hand him the mic, it's over on your left, or right, rather. 90 seconds, Brian.
Thank you. I'm Brian Coonsey. I've been your district attorney for the last 4 years. I kind of want to stray from the script. It seems like I have a curse that I tend to intimidate people. And a lot of that is because I bring a lot of passion to what I do. So really what I want to do today is really kind of let you get to know me in a personal manner and really let you know what I stand for. One of the things that's a very important thing, labels are very deceiving. I want to make it very clear. I believe the Constitution defines the powers given to the federal government. That's how the federal government gets their powers, and only those powers. And I really believe a lot of what the laws have been done have really stretched that beyond recognition. I too also strongly believe in the Second Amendment right to protect ourselves from the government. I do support constitutional carry of firearms. I also understand why, but I really have a disagreement with how the federal ownership has come about of our state lands. And I would like to figure out ways of getting that back. One of the things that is very important to me is I'm very passionate for the law. I believe we have to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We need to enforce laws equally. And I believe the system only works if the rules are followed. I firmly believe, as your main prosecutor, that this is something that I am the public defender. I haven't lived here for 1 month. I've lived here for 16 years. I've raised my family here. My wife has been a special ed teacher for over 15 years. I've been married for 33 years, raised my 4 children here. I've been involved in a lot of activities, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, protecting our community. Thank you.
Angela, 90-second intro, please.
Good evening. Am I on?
Yes.
Good evening. First, I would like to thank, as everyone else, the Prump Valley, or the Prump Nugget, Karen Jackson, K9 Radio, and Bill Carnes and his team for putting this together. And all of you for coming out and staying through. It's been a little bit of a long night. As I understand from Ms. Jackson, our platform will be addressing, we will be addressing questions tonight regarding what our platform is, questions about our website and what we stand for. So I'll just briefly take a moment to give you some of my background. Before moving to Pahrump, I lived in Las Vegas, moving there in 1972. While working full-time and raising my son, I obtained my bachelor's degree in political science from UNLV. I then went on to get my law degree from the University of San Diego School of Law. While there, I interned at the alternate public defender's office, authoring key motions in first-degree murder cases. I was then honored to serve as a judicial law clerk for the 8th Judicial District Court in Clark County. Over the years, I have had my own practice. I served as outside associate trial counsel for MGM, was chief litigator and managing attorney at Coleman Law Associates. And my legal knowledge and experience, though, while it is, I believe, vast and diverse, is not what's going to make me your DA effective. The leadership, this is a leadership position, and that's what I'll bring to the office.
Brian, first question goes to you. Your website reads, effective communication with the victims of crimes is a must, not a luxury. Better relations with the victims have been achieved by quickly processing cases, advising victims of case progress, and involving victims in the resolution of cases. By the nature of your office, some cases are disposed of without prosecution. Considering your statement of effective communication, please explain the process of case disposal and how and when you communicate with those victims.
Thank you. Yes, it's a very difficult process, but as far as case resolution, we're trying to figure out what's the best way that we can get a result. And a lot of people talk about plea bargaining. We've put a lot of people in prison for life off of plea bargains. You have to plea bargain, and that's something that we have to do, but it's important to know what you're getting out of the deal. And partly what we do is we do talk to the victims, we advise them of what is on the table, we talk to them about what's going on, and we do try to involve them in the process. And again, it's very difficult with the number of cases that we have. We're not perfect, but we certainly strive to involve the victims, let them know what's happening, explain why we're doing what we're doing. And that's important to me, is that I always say, you ask a question, you're going to get an honest answer from me. We try to answer the questions, we try to involve them, we try to let them know what's happening as best we can. But ultimately, with the resources that we have, we can't take every case to trial. With the number of judges we have, it would take 20 years.
Brian, I want to bring it down to the core of the question, if you would, and give you 30 seconds on it. The core of the question is explain the process of case disposal when there's no prosecution, and how and when you communicate with the victim.
Well, I'm sorry, as far as without prosecution.
Correct.
Right. Well, and I apologize, I didn't catch that part of the question. But the bottom line is we get, reports from the sheriff's office. We report back to the sheriff's office that there's not a case that's prosecutable for us. That's the way the process works. And again, we send everything back to the sheriff's office indicating why, or if there's reasons why we might be able to do something if they give us further evidence.
Okay. Angela, would you like to respond or debate?
Debate, please.
Okay, 2 minutes, and keep in mind let's keep everybody's possession of the microphone limited. 2 minutes, please.
All right. One of the reasons I actually ran for this office was looking at the district attorney's website. And on that website, it is essentially blank. There are about 4 sentences, twice of which mention the respect for victims' rights. I was very concerned that, in fact, there are no victims' rights statutes on the website. You don't try to give victims their rights. It is required by our Constitution and under our statutes. I've
You
talked
have to pass the mic at some point.
Sorry. My first time.
Well, when it comes to victims' rights, again, the victim, we do try to incorporate them into the process. We try to keep them informed of what's happening. And again, that's the point that we have to do. I represent all of the people. We try to get the cases through. The bottom line is, what I find is that we make calls every single day. I talk to people every day, I get emails every day. We are very communicative. But the bottom line is that I have to make those hard decisions as to whether or not we can prosecute cases or not. In those cases we can't prosecute, unfortunately we have to make those hard decisions.
Again, it is required by law. It's not a try situation. And I have talked to a number of victims, and if there is still time, does it go back to him again?
Yes.
I would like you to address Mr. Coleman, who is in the audience and waited for a long time to answer the question of why he was never informed of his victim's rights after his child was allegedly abused in the Hopkins case.
That would be absolutely false. I had conversations with Mr. Coleman, and I would disagree with that assessment completely. Since you weren't here living here, I'm not sure you even understand what that case was about. You can't read about it. And again, we did communicate with those victims. We had a lot of communication with those victims. And to sit there and say that that didn't happen is just simply not true.
Okay, thank you for the answers. Let's just keep the punches above the belt, okay? So, and that's for both of you. Let's see, Brian, you actually got the first question, so we're moving on to Angela. You get the next question. Your website states your experience. How does your experience as primarily a civil litigator benefit you for running for the office best known for criminal prosecutions?
Well, the district attorney's office works, of course, in a vast area of law. It does a lot of civil law. They are the chief legal advisor to every county official, as well as the board members, of course. So that will be of great benefit. I don't believe that the district attorney, what you're hiring is not a criminal trial attorney. The district attorney very rarely goes to trial. I think Mr. Coonsey can attest to that. He is very rarely in court, and should not be, because the job is that of a leader. The leader is about open and honest communication, building trust within the community, and improving the integrity of the system, and someone with a vision. And I believe I have those, and we'll bring those to the office.
Thank you. Brian, would you like to respond or debate?
I'll respond to that.
90 seconds, please.
Thank you. What I really want you to do is kick the tires here of the product you're trying to buy and look at the comparative experience that we have. I've been in the courtroom for over 31 years, both as a civil litigator and as a criminal prosecutor, and also as a criminal defense attorney when I was in the United States Army JAG Corps. I have done over 40 jury trials. As far as I know, my opponent has not done any jury trials. No, I don't have the luxury of going into the courtroom as much as I would like to, as I've had throughout my career. But what I do have the capabilities of doing because of my vast experience across all levels is I can mentor, I can teach, I can train. There's not a trial that goes on in my office that we are not there late at night discussing trial strategies, trying to figure out how to deal with certain issues that come up, writing briefs. That's something that my opponent does not have any experience doing. She's never had any criminal case trials, and as far as I know, she has no jury trial experience. So again, I would really caution you, look at my record, look what I've done for 31 years as a trial attorney, the number of trials I've done, because again, as she's indicated, this is about leadership, and I agree completely. This is leadership that I can bring to the table because I teach, I mentor, and I guide my attorneys in doing the best product we can for you.
Angela, you have a 30-second call.
Well, the experience does not seem to be paying off as much as it should. The district attorney's office, I have it, as from what I've heard from several people, including in the judiciary and in the public defender's office, is a 50 to 60% conviction rate on serious felonies. That is dismal, and it is way below the state and country's average.
Thank you. Brian, the next question is to you. What is the average time of disposition on cases in your office, and how does that time compare to when you first took office? I should say resolution, not disposition.
I was wondering how you're going to define disposition.
My mistake.
Well, unfortunately, much of the dispositions are outside the capabilities that I have to control. What I've had the capabilities of controlling when I first came into the office was that there were many cases, and it was a culture of cases just sitting there many times for many, many years with nothing happening. I've put standards in place that we are now reviewing those cases and we're making decisions immediately. My goal is to try to get these cases reviewed within a week, or I'm sorry, within a month of hitting my office. So we're trying to get them into the system. The reality of it is, as Judge Lane indicated, we are the second busiest jurisdiction. It's hard to jam that many cases through the system, but we are doing a much better job. When I first came in, it was taking a year to a year and a half to even get a preliminary hearing in justice court. That's now down to about 7 to 8 months. And then once we go into district court, if we have to do a jury trial, again, before that was taking a year and a half to even get a jury trial time. We've now gotten that down to less than a year in most of our cases. So again, a lot of it is working with the courts, coming up with an efficient system, and trying to get the cases done that we can get done, and try the cases that we have to try. And again, I just want to comment that you need to be careful with figures. When you start throwing out things about 50% on serious felonies, you really need to know what the basis of they are. What are you actually talking about, serious felony? How are you calculating your numbers? Those are phony numbers that are trying to be thrown out there.
Angela, would you like to respond or debate?
I will debate.
Okay, 2 minutes.
I will point out Deputy Daryl Taylor, 2011, not guilty, sexual misconduct. Dennis Toisey, 2013, took 2.5 years to go to trial, not guilty, 8 felony counts involving sexual assault. Jackie Albright, August 2014, not guilty, 5 counts of sexual assault.
It's about time to pass the mic.
Yes, there have been not guilty verdicts. Although I don't think Daryl Taylor was actually prosecuted by my office. I think that might have been outside attorney. I'm not positive on that. But again, yes, there have been not guilty verdicts. But we have gotten a lot of very good verdicts in a lot of very serious cases, and we put a lot of child molesters in prison for life. We had a major murder case, so there's been a lot of very good prosecutions, and again, there's a lot of reasons why, particularly in the child molestation cases, that are very difficult to get verdicts.
Well, civil law is a very large, broad area, and I've worked in almost all of it. Criminal law is a very small area, and I have no problem and am totally confident that anything I have to do to supervise and mentor the people in the office will be accomplished without a problem. Apparently, I don't think that the county considers there needs to be too much experience, because Public Defender Gibson as well as Hewen were replaced by 2 and 3 and 4 year attorneys with absolutely no experience in the public defender's office. So
I'm not sure how that's relevant to being district attorney, but again, there really was no points there made. Again, I don't understand it. The bottom line is you do have to be able to understand and mentor your attorneys, and I don't know how you can do that without any experience.
I have to say that seeing attorneys debate, which is what they do for a profession, I'm digging this myself. Angela, next question to you. Your website says, to prevent and halt abuse of our children and elderly, communication and information is crucial. My office will engage in and support proactive measures designed to educate the elderly on things they can do to protect themselves. Please provide specifics on this plan and how you intend to measure its impact.
well, I can tell you that I am very concerned about the juvenile crime rate, because it has skyrocketed from 2012 to 2013. And I will specifically use, well, the website, we'll start with that. I would like to have things on the website where the kids can go that could be engaged in, that will teach them how to avoid being abused, what to do if they are abused, interactive games and educational tools. You'll see me at the senior center educating the seniors on what they can do to avoid especially economic crimes, which are very serious for seniors because of course they're on limited income, and if their retirement is gone, they can't get that back. So there'll be also tools on there and educational things on the website, as well as my going out into the field. Parents' tools as well, teaching parents what they can do to help make their children safer.
Okay, thank you. Brian, would you like to debate or respond?
I'll respond to this.
90 seconds.
Thank you. One of the things I want to talk about, when we talk about juvenile victims in particular, I want to point out the fact that one of the things that I'm most proud of as district attorney is putting in place what's called the Child Advocacy Center. We did this as a joint venture with No to Abuse, the Sheriff's Office, Child Welfare, where we bring the victims in, we have them interviewed one time with everybody in a back room listening to what's going on and directing the investigation. That has helped us close scores of cases, get these kids through without the trauma of what's happening. That's how you protect victims' rights, is getting these people, dealing with them so that they're not traumatized again by this situation. Because trust me, there's nothing worse than seeing these poor kids have to testify. And again, a lot of my community work is I'm on the board of directors with No to Abuse and in CASA. These are all important issues to me that I've been involved in this community, fighting the battle with these people. We have a very close relationship with No to Abuse. I'm very particular in how we deal with domestic violence cases. We don't let people, I don't let my deputies dismiss domestic violence cases. We want to get them counseling. We work with the No to Abuse to get them counseling. And again, with CASA, these are kids who are in foster care systems. And again, these are all issues that I work with very closely on a daily basis, and it's a passion of mine of these particular issues. And again, like I say, with the Child Advocacy Center, we've seen remarkable results of, not necessarily finding that crimes were committed, but we're actually getting cases closed because, we're making valid determinations based upon those interviews.
And Angela, you have a 30-second follow-up.
I have no follow-up. I agree. Good programs.
Brian, this leads wonderfully into the next question because you finished with speaking about some domestic violence issues. Your website says, Brian Kunze has ended policies that allowed summary withdrawals of domestic violence prosecutions. As the state of Nevada is the primary victim of domestic violence, please clarify that statement.
I don't agree that the state of Nevada is the primary victim of domestic violence. Domestic violence is a scourge that we have to stamp out. Yes, we file cases in the name of the state of Nevada, but to describe the state of Nevada as the victim, I think is very wrong. And again, what was happening when I came into the office 4 years ago was if a victim came in and basically said, I want to not prosecute the case, then those cases would just be dropped. That is the wrong approach. We work with the victims. We try to get them to a good place where we can make them effective witnesses. I don't let that happen. I try to find them the counseling that they need. We don't dismiss the case. And sometimes we have to go forward even if they're trying to retract their statement. And we do that because we're trying to get help for mostly women that are involved in these situations. And again, it's something that again, I'm so passionate about that we have to protect these people. We have to recognize these women as victims because what happens is, the man comes back and makes up with them and tries to get them to come back to them and agree to not testify. We have to be there strong for them so that they can stand up and get the protection they need and get them to a safe place so hopefully we can stop these horrendous crimes.
Angela, would you like to respond or debate?
I'll respond.
90 seconds, please.
I agree that domestic violence is a serious issue and it is in this county. Not only, though, do we need these people that are batterers to get the anger management that they need, we need to start when they're children. Because typically, those that are abused have been abused. So we need to start in the schools, making sure we know and can recognize when a child is being abused and get them the help so that they know how to deal with their anger management and the issues that they're going to have later on in life. A very good problem is Alternatives to Violence Project, which has been tried across the country, and it's a system that's been used in our prisons to try and teach children conflict resolution skills. I would encourage the school system to